Aita for calling my husband a disgrace after he said my miscarriage ruined his birthday. I miscarried yesterday afternoon about 12 p.m. I've never had a miscarriage before and this baby was so wished for, so it's all so fresh and I'm sobbing right now, so I apologize in advance if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. My husband turned 27 yesterday. I 26F was pregnant with mine and my husband's 27M second child. Yesterday, I was 8 weeks pregnant. The day before yesterday we saw a beautiful heartbeat flicking on the screen and today I'm devastated. I was playing with our 2-year-old when I felt a pressure in my lower abdomen. Not long later, I noticed bleeding and I let my husband know immediately that I had discomfort and bleeding. Before long I had passed what I believe is the fetus and I messaged him, I think I lost the baby. I wanted to keep him updated and I guess I was seeking some kind of emotional support. I asked if he could come home and he said, of course, if it's urgent. I said I think it is because the pain and bleeding is getting worse and I'm starting to feel lightheaded and our 2-year-old is unattended in his playroom right now. We have no friends or family near that I could call who would get to us quicker than he could. I had to clean myself up, crawl downstairs to take paracetamol, make my son his lunch and then put him down for a nap. At this point my husband still isn't home. He was working approximate 30 minutes away and took closer to 60 minutes to get back. Hours later when I asked, it was because he'd stopped at Tesco to pick up some beers. I ended up very poorly, losing lots of blood, lightheaded, vomiting etc. and he had to take me to A&E. By the time I was discharged it was almost 8 p.m. Last week, I had said I'd make him his favorite dinner for his birthday, which he reminded me when we were almost home. I said I wasn't feeling up to it and that whatever takeaway he wants is on me. He said, for fuck's sake, under his breath and then muttered something along the lines of, this bullshit has ruined my birthday. He didn't stop to get any takeaway. He just drove straight home. He put our son to bed and I went to bed and I'm not sure what he did after. I didn't see him this morning as he had already left for work. He's not messaged me all day and he got home a few hours ago. It's now 8:40 p.m. and he's been giving me silent treatment. I tried to speak to him about an hour or so ago and he ignored me and I called him a disgrace. He slammed the bedroom door and locked me out of the bedroom. His mum has since messaged me and said I need to be patient as he's also had a loss. She didn't ask how I was or anything. He's obviously speaking to his mum, but why isn't he opening up and speaking to me? She said I was harsh. I'm feeling utterly emotionally neglected right now. My body has been through emotional and physical hell. I understand that my miscarriage came at a fucking inconvenient time for him as it was his birthday and all. I'm not sure if it's the hormones making me feel crazy, but is it nuts to contemplate divorce? Aita for calling him a disgrace. Update, Aita for calling my husband a disgrace after he said my miscarriage ruined his birthday. A kind Reddit user informed me that this is the best way to do an update, rather than adding a comment to my previous post, so hopefully this reaches the right people. I should have clarified in my original post from last week that the way my husband responded was completely out of character for him. He's usually a caring and supportive man and is a good husband and father. The only incident where he's shown any kind of red flags was when I put together an accent chair. I used a screwdriver to attach the legs to the seat, and when he came home from work and saw that I'd done it myself, he jumped on it until it broke to show that I didn't do it properly and that I should have waited for him to come home. He'd been under lots of stress at work, so I asked him to go to therapy, which he did, instead of pulling the divorce card straight away. We have been together for 7 years in May and is the only partner I've ever known. My family all love him and have accepted him from day one. I also should have clarified, yes, I know he was an AH in the scenario, I wasn't questioning that. What I was questioning was whether I took it a step too far in calling him a disgrace. He's going through a lot at work at the moment. It was his birthday. I'd been messaging him and telling him that I'd miscarried his child and he had to leave work early, and then I called him a disgrace after he'd taken me to the hospital and was responding to the grief in his own way. I think the majority of people said I was NTA in this scenario and due to his behavior that my insult was justified. Thank you to everyone who reached out, checked in, offered condolences and emotional support. I've read all my messages and tried to read most of the comments. Most of them have been very kind and useful and have helped a lot over the past few days. I had a scan yesterday which confirmed that everything has passed successfully. Some people may remember that I was very worried about retained tissue due to my fever over the weekend. Also, my tonsillitis has fully cleared up, so I'm feeling almost back to normal, physically. I left my husband. Me and my son are staying with family in a different part of the country, so we are safe and are managing. My husband did get very angry when I told him that I was leaving him. He tried to stop me from leaving with our son, put hands on me and threatened to end his life. My mum intervened and like I said, we are safe. I have some time off work now, so I will continue to take time to recover emotionally and plan my next steps. Thank you if you've read this far. I doubt there will be any more updates after this. Stories number 2. My mom took my cheating ex-girlfriend's side over mine and I can never forgive her. I was raised by single mom. My dad died 2 years after I was born. I focused on my career for the most part of my life and my mom supported me doing that. But when I was 20 I met my ex-girlfriend and we got together. We were colleagues first but she told me she'd work in a different sector soon. In her new workplace she met a new guy who she fell in love with while being in a relationship with me. I only found out because she admitted to have sex with him to me after she went out for girls' night with her friends. I immediately broke up with her and threw her out. A few hours of me trying to process what happened, my mum called me and shouted at me that she hasn't raised me like this. I was confused and asked what she meant and she said that my ex-girlfriend accused me of cheating on her and that she found proof of that on my phone. I couldn't believe what I just heard. I tried to talk to my mother telling her that the exact opposite is true and that she has cheated on me but she didn't believe me. Part of the reason is probably because she and my mom truly loved each other. I never had a problem with that. Till then I liked how they got along with each other. My mother called me a liar and she said she'd disinherit me from her will as she's not having a cheater as a son. She said she never wants to see me again. Then later my grandparents called me to tell me how disappointed they are of me and that I deserve every bad thing that is to come. You know what the worst thing was? I found out that my cheating ex-girlfriend continued to meet with my mom after everything she did. All of this was so painful for me. The only person that sided with me was my best friend who was furious with her. I talked to him and he hugged me and I cried in his arms. I know many people would think that's unusual for two guys. But his support really helped me getting through this. 1 year later when I already was over it my doorbell rang and when I opened I saw my mom with teary eyes and I began to feel how my emotions are coming up and I slammed the door and started crying asking her what the fuck she wants here. She said she wanted to talk to me and that she was so sorry. After she begged for 15 minutes straight I gave in and opened the door. She said my ex admitted that she cheated when she was drunk. She apologized profusely and said that she knows that she failed as a mother not believing her own child. I told her that I accept her apology but I don't want to see her now and that I probably can never forgive her. Even though she begged me to forgive her. Over the last few months she started calling me daily, just to hear my voice, as she said. She said she missed me then apologized again and asked if I could just come over. Her voice always sounded kinda painful and she always says how much she loves me and that even she could understand that I hate her she cannot live with this thought on her head. I don't even hate her. I still love her. She is still my mom but the trust is broken. I can never trust her again because what if I got into a relationship again? Who says that she wouldn't just believe their word over mine again? I appreciate her efforts but I just cannot forgive her or even see her now. And I hope she understands that I need time. Comments. Commenter. Your ex is a horrible human being. Commenter 2. The mother as well. Commenter 3. Hose of a feather. Commenter 4. Make her tell your grandparents the truth. The fact that she ruined your reputation in your family is disgusting. I know what having a mother like that is like, and believe me, no contact is better than the potential risk of stress and chaos that they can bring to your life again. And they always will. Update. Hi there. After reading too many comments yesterday I decided to meet with my mom today to clarify everything. I texted her to come over and she didn't hesitate. She literally appeared at my door within 15 minutes. Many of you pointed out good points I should ask her. Even though she called several times we rarely really talked. So when she came over I sat her down in the living room. There I asked about my grandparents, her will and if she is still in contact with my ex. She explained that she had told my grandparents and she expected them to call me but it seems like they were too stubborn. She also said I'm in her will again. She then started talking shit about my ex. She said that when she found out she punched her so hard that my ex lost a few teeth. I very much doubt the accuracy of this story detail but I wanted to share it anyway because for me it was a funny thing to think about. She said she told her to *ck off and threw her out of the house. She then again started apologizing profusely and telling me that she knows how hard she messed up and that I probably can never trust her but she wants to do everything in her power to make this right. She explained that the man before my father had cheated on her so infidelity was a sensitive topic for her. And then she said that she regrets not believing me or even remotely hearing my side of the story. I sat quiet while she explained all this. I then asked her how I know that I could trust her now. What would happen if I got into a similar situation and if she would just throw me away again? She said I have her word and I replied that her word is basically meaningless as I don't trust her in the first place. She didn't reply to that answer properly and again begged me to forgive. I told her that I cannot forgive her for now and maybe I will never be able to forgive her, but I also see her efforts, and if she wants me in her life again then she has to show me that I can count on her. She started tearing up. I could tell she tried to hold in her tears the entire time. But then she broke down crying and with a whimpering voice she asked if she at least could give me a hug. I accepted that and she said she's gonna make this right no matter what it takes, and then she left. Now while I am kinda touched in how she shows how much she regrets doing what she did, I am really concerned about my own reaction. When she broke down and I saw my own mother there on the floor crying, I didn't feel anything. I wasn't sad, I wasn't angry, I wasn't happy, and I certainly didn't show any sort of empathy for her. I just couldn't. During the year of having no contact with her I refused to go to therapy. Maybe it's not too late to do that now. In the end, I want to thank all of you for your nice comments and support. I tried to read every single one of your comments, but the post kinda exploded way more than I expected. Have a nice day. Comments. Commenter 1. It's normal to not feel anything after her apologies. You've been betrayed by her. She picked someone else's side instead of yours and never tried to hear your side of the story. I'm sure that if your ex hadn't been drunk and didn't spill the truth, she would still have been on her side. I think, and it's just my opinion, that her betrayal shocked you so much and you were so used by now to look without her that something broke inside of you, and that's why you felt nothing. I think that you should probably give a try to therapy, cause you might have bottled a lot of things and you need to talk about it, evacuate it to maybe start to feel better. You don't have to forgive your mother even though she begs and cry, and with what she did to you and how she picked your ex over you, her own child. I don't think that you could ever trust her. She broke it and she have to live with the consequence of her own choices. Don't feel bad, OP, and I hope everything will goes well for you in the future. Update. How I'm currently doing. Hi guys. Some of you probably waited for an update considering the last time I gave an update was 4 months ago. Okay, so I was in therapy and I feel so much better now. Doesn't mean that I forgot what happened. I honestly have to admit my mom really improved herself. I moved into a new apartment last month, and when I asked her to help she immediately said yes, even though the day of me moving was a day where she had important appointments on her job which she cancelled to be there for me. She calls me almost every day to ask me how I am. Sometimes she even drives to my workplace to leave me a bit of lunch there. She also visits me at home just to see me. She says she wants to hear my voice. I still cannot fully trust her. I am in therapy, but I'm not sure if I ever will be able to. But I do recognize her efforts to make things right. She also talked to my grandparents again and made them apologize, but I couldn't care less about them. They were still dickheads even after the truth came out. Some of you might be interested what happened to my ex. The last thing I heard from her was that the guy she cheated on me with has now cheated on her too, and he just saw her as some kind of fling. But that's just hearsay from the friends of my best friend. I don't know if it's true or not, and I don't really care about her at all. But if it was true, it would be great karma though. Thank you so much for your support. I'll try to keep you updated if anything happens that is worth being told here. Comments. Commenter 1. I remember the first post, and frankly, I didn't expect an update. Past will never come back, obviously, but things evolve in your favor. One point that hit me is the reproduction. Your mother has been cheated. Your ex cheated on you. Basically, your mother cheated on you with your ex, in a way that she replaced her legit son with a substitute daughter, with which she felt so well. Her drunkenness was not from alcohol, but from the happiness of having a daughter. All in all, your mother did what she accused you of doing. And I suspect she is conscious of her own brand of cheating, so I fully approve your distrust. Her abandon is far more than being a victim of lie and being stubborn. It is a programmed behavior that she must address in therapy. It can happen again because she does not have conscious power over it. Somehow, it can be compared to an addiction. You had the right sentence, her words hold no value anymore. And if she cannot live now without hearing your voice once a day, you did it very easily for a full year. But you are a good guy. You allow her to try again. You don't feel nothing. Of course you don't. That double treason by the people you love the most is incredibly hurtful. To survive, your mind disconnected the emotion that would render you unable to act and think in a secure way. There is matter to suicide, here. Soon, anger and sadness will come back. Accept them. They are already there, hidden. Better to have them in plain sight. It will probably hurt your mother, but far less than your indifference. She will probably be relieved that you at last give her the screaming she earned. Because it means that she may atone eventually. This stain will never go away. But you can both live with it if properly managed. Peace on you. Update. I finally reciprocated her hug. Today was a big day for me. And hopefully I did the right thing. My mom visited me almost every day after her work, told me about her day and asked me about mine. She always asks me if I feel okay and if she can do anything. And today we seriously had a good time. We watched a movie, she cooked something for me and it was overall really wonderful today. I can't lie, every day when she left she hugged me for goodbye but I never hugged her back. I was still careful. But when she did it today I finally hugged her back and told her that I forgive her. My heart was beating really hard and fast when these words came out of my mouth. It took a lot of strength in me to say this. Most likely because I absolutely had no idea what her reaction would be. A few months ago I could have never imagined to say these words. She first looked at me with a surprised face and from one second to another she broke down in tears in my arms thanking me repeatedly. I was kinda lost and didn't know how to respond now. She just went on about how much she loves me and how proud she is to call me her son because not everyone would have been able to forgive her after this huge mistake she made and how terrible she feels that she ever thought I could be a cheater. And then she said that she will always be there for me and she will call me tomorrow. I'm not lying when I say that this entire moment felt like a scene out of a drama movie but I'm here for it. She made a horrible mistake. I know that but I can't hold this unforgiveness in my heart forever. Especially after seeing all the effort she put into our relationship. This might not be the update some of you want to read but I feel good the way it is and that's what's important. Comments. Commenter 1. To err is human, to forgive, divine. It's great that you were able to forgive her, it's hard, but you can see she is really trying to fix her mistake and build a relationship with you again. I hope that she has learned from this event and will not jump to conclusions should something happen again and hear you out. I truly hope for the best for the both of you. Commenter 2. Your mom indeed treated you like trash for a year but after realization she has truly put in the effort to show that she cares about you. Your forgiveness has shown her that you're far better than the person she could have ever brought you up to be. Hoping for you both to mend and reconcile your relationship. Cheers. Stories number 3. My husband's childhood best friend asked me for a favor, then humiliated me in front of her family. I'm done being the bigger person. I've been sitting on this for a few days, trying to decide if I'm just being dramatic or if I've been letting too much slide for too long. So, I, 30F, have been happily married for a few years now. My husband, 31M, is honestly a gem, kind, patient, hilarious, loyal. Basically everything you'd want. Which, after having an ex cheat on me with his best friend, is kind of a big deal. That relationship wrecked me for a while, but I worked hard not to drag the wreckage into something new. And my husband? And thankfully, my husband's never given me a single reason to question him. Until now. Maybe. I do not know. My husband and I have a great relationship, and we're pretty social and often hang out with each other's friends. I get along with almost all of his group, and they've honestly made me feel welcome, except for her. His childhood best friend. Let's call her C. C has always been cold to me. Not outright rude, just subtle enough to make me feel crazy for noticing. You know that kind of vibe? Every time we've been in the same room, she's managed to talk around me, not to me. I tried. I really did. I've smiled. Made conversation. Been nothing but warm, even when she's given me nothing to work with. She doesn't show up to group hangouts. But she'll invite him over. And he always tells me, to his credit. He never goes without mentioning it, and he's never weird or secretive about her. But it still rubs me the wrong way. I've tried being friendly, I've tried small talk, hell. I invited her to our birthdays, barbecues, engagement dinner, she bailed on all. She skipped our wedding too. And she only ever seems to reach out to him, usually when she's just been dumped and needs to talk. When I've brought it up, my husband says I'm overthinking it. That C is just a little odd socially. Maybe she is. Then, a few weeks ago, out of nowhere, she messaged me. She asked if I'd model for her project. Totally unexpected. And I was caught off guard enough to say yes. Part of me thought, maybe this is her trying to connect. Maybe this was her olive branch. I even felt a little hopeful. God, I was naive, so I agreed. My husband offered to come with me since he hadn't seen her in a while and thought it'd be fun to catch up after. When we got there, her family was also involved. And from the second I walked in, it was like stepping into some passive-aggressive twilight zone. Her mom and sister kept calling my husband our son-in-law. I laugh, awkwardly. Think I must have misheard. It only got worse. During the shoot, came more of the snarky comments. Jokes about the one that got away and some bonds never fade. Her mom, at one point, literally said, we always thought C would end up with him. But life has its detours, I guess. C always imagined walking down the aisle with him. And then, it's sweet of her to fill in, though. Oh come on. I wish I was exaggerating. And C? Just kept snapping pictures. Smiling. Saying nothing. No, hey, cut it out, no awkward laugh, no redirect. Nothing. My husband. Clearly uncomfortable. I watched him fidget through the whole thing, clear his throat a few times. He tried to change the subject or came near by me during the shooting. He didn't say much either. Just went kind of quiet. I stuck it out for an hour. Let her take her photos. Smiled, posed, whatever. But the whole time I felt like I was part of a social experiment, and everyone else was in on the joke but me. When we got in the car, he was silent for a while. Then finally said, "Sorry about all." That was weird, right? And honestly, I didn't even know what to say. Because yeah, it was weird. It was borderline disrespectful. And the fact that he was there, saw all of it, clearly felt it too, and still didn't step in or pull the plug. It makes me feel kind of alone in this. I'm just tired. Tired of pretending this woman is harmless or just awkward. She knows exactly what she's doing. Two don't want to start a huge fight. But I'm at the point where I don't want her in our lives. Not as a friend. Not as a ghost in the corner of our marriage. No more bending over backwards to be the cool wife. I'm not interested in earning points with someone who clearly doesn't want me around. Anyway. Thanks for letting me scream into the void for a minute. I really needed to get this out. Edit. Sorry guys, English is not my first, or even second, language, sometimes it is harder to get my points feelings across. Just to clarify a few things people were asking about, C is actually a photography major, and this shoot was part of her final project. I'm not a professional model or anything, but I've done some hobby modeling here and there, so when she asked if I'd help out, I thought it was a casual favor. Why at her house? She comes from a wealthy family and has a fully set up photo studio in their house, which is why the shoot happened there instead of at a regular studio. I honestly thought it'd just be her and the camera, not a full audience with drinks and commentary. Additional background, I grew up in a pretty emotionally abusive household, so I think I've gotten too used to passive-aggressive comments and just sort of freeze up. Maybe that's why I didn't react more in the moment, but yeah, it definitely hit harder after the fact. I will update you as soon as possible. Stories number 4. Aita for asking my husband not to go on a trip with a woman who openly flirts with him, and feeling betrayed when he did anyway. Hi everyone, I'm a 32F and I've been married to my husband, let's call him Joe, for 8 years, together for 10. In all that time, we've always prioritized each other's emotional well-being. If something hurt one of us, we didn't do it again, no matter what. We valued having a happy spouse more than being right. Because of this, my love and trust for him grew immensely. I was certain he'd never do anything that would break my heart, but here I am, heartbroken and disappointed. Joe owns a company, and we work together. Financially, we're in a great place. Recently, through Joe's father, we got the chance to bid for a major government contract, a massive opportunity. Due to its scale, several companies are teaming up, and one key company involved, without whom the deal won't happen, is led by a very attractive, flirty woman. She's the CEO and has openly flirted with Joe in front of me. We both noticed her behavior, and in order to avoid misunderstandings or conflict, we decided to work on the bid together. Things were okay until one meeting where, during a break, she touched Joe's arm and said something like, "If I had a husband like you, I'd never leave his side. You're someone every woman wants, but sometimes even that's not enough, someone else might steal your mind." I snapped and responded, "I'm not following him, he just never leaves my side." She brushed it off as a joke, but I know it wasn't. I saw the look in her eyes, and women just know. Later, I talked to Joe about it. He admitted she was crossing a line and that he was uncomfortable, but didn't react strongly to avoid jeopardizing the deal. I wasn't thrilled, but I tried to understand. Then today, I found out that I was excluded from a 3-day site visit for the bid, a trip requested by that woman. Only 5 people are going, and Joe is one of them. When I heard, I told him I was extremely uncomfortable with this, and asked him not to go. I begged, actually. I said the deal wasn't worth this. We're financially stable and don't need this contract. But he went anyway. Even after everything I said, he left without me. Something broke in me. I trusted him with my whole heart. I truly believed he'd never choose anything over my peace of mind. Now I feel like he did. He left me behind. And it hurts so deeply that part of me doesn't even care anymore. If he comes back, if he ends up with that woman, I feel numb. A part of me says, come on, 10 amazing years, don't throw it all away. Another part wants to take off my wedding ring, send him a photo, and file for divorce. So, Aita for asking him not to go. And how do I even begin to deal with these emotions? Ada has no consensus but, OOP was NTA. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, sounds like she purposely excluded you and he fell for it. Reply, yes she did and he knows it. He still went anyway. Commenter 2, is he still there? Any way you can surprise him and show up, tell her you took her suggestion and never leave his side. Or hire a PI. Reply, they went today and will be there 2 more days. Maybe I should. Never thought this. But I don't know how he will react if me being there would affect the deal. Commenter 3, have you talked to him since he left? Reply, he is calling and texting but I don't respond. Commenter 3, is he asking for forgiveness? Reply, yes he says he is sorry to hurt me but this is a big opportunity to get once in lifetime. He would never do anything to hurt me, in any ways. And says he knows that woman did this to break us he will never do that. Things like that. Commenter 4, he showed you exactly how much he loves and respects you by going on the trip. Are you sure nothing could be going on between the two of them? Seems like the perfect opportunity. Reply, well I am sure of him but this is what every woman who cheated on says so. Commenter 5, sweetheart, if he is aware of her flirting with him and that you were purposely excluded from the trip and then chose us to go anyway, then you have a husband problem. He has just shown to you where you stand in his priorities. And you may say is the money but I'd have to disagree being that the business doesn't really need this account. But let's say he did for the money that's still shown to you that he value money more than you. He could have said he was feeling sick and that you were the one going in that trip to demonstrate to you that he cares about you, but no, he decided to go and be around a woman that openly flirted with him and has shown that she is interested in him and above all has disrespected you in front of him. Do not lower yourself going there to keep him from cheating on you. Do not allow yourself to be disrespected. Reply, part of me says go and part of me says what you say. Update 1. First of all, thank you so much to everyone who shared their thoughts. I wanted to update you on what happened since yesterday. I did something I never thought I'd do, I drove to the place where my husband and his team were staying. Yes, I know, desperate and honestly not like me at all. But jealousy and love can make people do wild things. It was only a 3-hour drive. On the way, Joe kept calling and texting, but I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say, and I didn't want to say something I'd regret later. When I arrived at the hotel, I didn't let him know. Inspired by some of your comments suggesting hiring a PI, I wanted to see things for myself. I just needed to know, if something was happening, I wanted to witness it with my own eyes. When I got there, the group of 5 was sitting together in the lounge. They seemed to be having a good time, Joe included. But importantly, Joe was sitting far from her, so there was no chance of physical contact. He was engaging in the conversation but still texting me non-stop. From afar, he looked like he was chatting with someone, but it was actually me. Please answer me, don't be mad, talk to me. I had planned to just observe. But I couldn't take it. There was a cafe near the hotel, so I went there and messaged Joe to meet me. He showed up smiling and hugged me tightly. I was supposed to be strong, to demand answers, but the moment he held me, I just started crying like an idiot. He comforted me for a while, then I finally asked the question I should have asked earlier, and many of you pointed out why didn't he bring me along. Not as a team member, but as his wife. He said it was because I was already very upset at how she excluded me, and he thought bringing me might escalate the tension. According to him, he's been handling her flirty behavior by keeping it light and not letting it cross any lines. Joe believes this woman isn't even after him, she's competing with me. He said some people feed off of making others uncomfortable, and she's one of them. She chose you as a rival, he said. It's not about me, it's about her wanting to disturb you to feel powerful. That sounds a bit off to me, honestly. She's a successful CEO. She's already powerful. Still, he insisted that he's been keeping his distance and not giving her any encouragement. He said he didn't think this trip would affect me this deeply, and reminded me that over 10 years, I've seen women hit on him before, but this is the first time someone has gotten under my skin like this. He also opened up about how important this contract is to him. He doesn't want to disappoint his father, and he feels like we might never get another opportunity like this. He asked me to trust him. We went back to the hotel together and had breakfast. To be honest, I am not as angry as I was the day before. I didn't even mention divorce during our conversation. I'm still upset, yes, but the heartbreak I felt has eased. I don't know if it's normal, but the sharp pain has been replaced by a strange calm. Tonight, we'll have dinner together as a group. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why is this particular contract so important to his dad? Reply, because it is a really big one. Commenter 2. I'm so happy for you. At dinner, do not let her see you sweat. Kiss and love on your husband. Reply, thank you. I will be calm and not let her to get me. Commenter 3, sorry, but his explanation makes zero sense. If he feels this is who this other person is, then that's even more of a reason to be completely clear on your role and importance in his life and in the company. He should be shutting it down, hard, so there is zero room for misinterpretation or any semblance of impropriety. There is no keeping it light when setting boundaries. Reply, that is what think, and actually I know how he set his boundaries, but I set mine too and it was crossed by that woman, so she is a lot to handle. Commenter 4, 99.99 chance he's definitely not doing anything with that woman. When he found out you were there he would have been mad and questioning why you were even there. Sounds as if he was pretty calm. I think you have a good dude on your hands. As much as he's uncomfortable with the woman, he's able to keep his space, not be rude to her that could jeopardize the business deal, and stay focused with the job. A spouse with nothing to hide won't be mad at a snooping spouse. Reply, I like the last sentence. That is %100 true. He didn't get mad or question at all. He came as soon as I wrote to him with a smile on his face. He said he was really upset that I was upset, and not responding him made him feel awful because he wasn't there for me. Well, hearing it made feel good, not gonna lie. Update 2, dinner, doubts and perspective. Hi again, everyone. I wanted to answer a few recurring questions from the comments and also share how the dinner went. First of all, I don't live in the US, and English is not my first language. That's why I write my updates in my native language and use ChatGPT to translate them so they're easier to understand. When I respond to comments directly, I type in English myself, so please excuse any grammar mistakes. As for Joe and me, we've been together for 10 years and have worked together for almost 8 of those. Like any couple, we've had ups and downs, but we've managed to come through without major scars. Joe has gone on many business trips before, often with other women present, and I've never had a problem with that. I'm not someone who panics just because my husband is away on a work trip. We've faced similar situations before and handled them without much issue because we trust each other. But this time was different. As Joe said, maybe it hit harder because this woman was going after me, not him. She was directly trying to get under my skin. And she succeeded. I let my emotions spiral, and things could have gone to a much worse place. I'm relieved they didn't. Joe told me that while my doubts and reactions did upset him a little, he understands why I felt the way I did and doesn't blame me. He said, if I were in your place, I'd feel terrible too, but I never thought you would believe I'd betray you like that. He's right, I was unfair to him on that front. But he also told me he knows how much I've endured for him, and that he'll work on making sure I never feel that way again. And I believe him. Now, about dinner, it actually went pretty well overall. Nobody questioned my presence, and Joe told them he invited me. The woman did make a few passive-aggressive comments, though, mostly disguised as jokes. At one point, she said something like, if she weren't always in her husband's shadow, she could be doing so much more. Later, she said I was being wasted in this company and could thrive at a bigger firm. I didn't let it get to me. I smiled and simply said, you seem to have a great eye for people's potential. Some of the others in the group, who I already knew, actually suggested I participate in the final day of work. But I declined. I didn't want it to look like I was trying to compete with her or prove anything. I told them, I'm just here for Joe, and for the fun parts. If we win this bid, we'll have to work with this woman for another 5 years, and that worries me. But I also know we won't be seeing her that often. This contract means a lot to Joe, so I guess I'll have to learn how to live with it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you handled her like a boss. She feels insecure around you now. In her mind, the crap she was doing didn't work on you. She's a pathetic little woman who uses sexuality to get attention and validation. Poor woman. I have a feeling that you'll be updating us more on this, especially if your husband is able to secure the contract. Reply, thank you. She is really trying to get me, as Joe said. I realized that. The thing is, I don't talk about these things to my family or my friends. I love this place, I can share everything, and also my private life is private. I really think I would use here and get your opinions on this. Commenter 2, I'm glad things worked out and you and your husband are in a good place. Just curious, for the project, assuming you are awarded the contract, does your husband have to be the point person? Can someone else take the lead on it like you, his father, another employee? 5 years is a long time for him to have to deal with the flirting and innuendos, but I guess the same can be said for you having to deal with her passive-aggressive attitude and behavior. Reply, unfortunately, as he is the owner and the CEO of our company, he will have to deal most of it. But he will include me legally, so I will be there every step and she cannot exclude me. I hope she will find herself someone else at some point. Commenter 3, that's awesome. Next time she calls for a meeting you go instead of him. We all agreed with your assessment that I have more potential, so I'll be point on this contract from now on. There's nothing you need Joe for that I can't handle on his behalf, right? Reply, she'll see more of me, smiley face. Stories number 5. Broke up with my girlfriend over tattoos. She no longer agrees with our breakup. I want to preface this with a disclaimer that there is nothing wrong with having tattoos if you want and like them. They aren't my thing. Please don't take this as a condemnation of tattoos or the people that get them as a whole. My ex and I were together about a year. Early on in the relationship she had mentioned wanting to get some tattoos. I told her she had every right to do so since it's her body, but I find tattoos very unattractive and I would likely break up if she went through with it. It became a small fight and she was cold and passive-aggressive about it for a few days, but eventually she said she understood and would not be getting the tattoos done. Fast forward to about 2 months ago and she makes another attempt to get me on board with tattoos. I reiterate my stance and tell her again she can do it, but I won't stick around if she does. I went out of town to visit my cousin for a week and come home to her with a partial sleeve done. Her arm was basically one big scab. I ask her what's going on and she just nonchalantly says her and her best friend had talked and agreed I was being unreasonable, so she went ahead and used my time out of town to get it done so I wouldn't be around to be a buzzkill about it. She said she got as much as the guy was willing to do in one sitting inked, and once she was healed she planned to get it extended. The tattoo was already a deal breaker for me, but the blatant disrespect and casual way she was implying my opinion didn't matter, broke my feelings for her right there. We fought and eventually she just told me to get the hell out and locked herself in the bathroom. Thank God she did this when she did, because I was close to not renewing my lease at my apartment and moving in with her. Packed my shit up and left while she shit-talked me to her best friend on the phone. Dropped her stuff off from my place the next day. She told me I was making a huge mistake and throwing a good thing away for petty reasons. I just handed her the bag and left. That was weeks ago. Didn't hear from her until today. She called me. Here's a very brief summary of the call. Her, okay, the petty drama has run its course. You can move back in and move on, okay? Me, no, we are broken up. It's over permanently. I don't want to get back together. Her, we aren't getting back together. This was just a spat that got out of hand. You freaked out and left in a huff. I know you're just too proud to admit you're wrong, so we'll just call it even and you can come back. Me, no, I told you repeatedly that tattoos are a deal breaker. You did it anyway and then disrespected me on top of that with the way you went about it. We're done. You can move on now. Find a guy that finds your new ink attractive, because I find it repulsive and wouldn't be able to look at you or that arm again. Conversation goes in circles for a bit before I hang up. Then she tries sending me some nudes in an attempt to seduce me, but her body does nothing for me now and her sleeve was visible, which, even after it healed, was gross and unflattering. Told her I deleted them and to leave me alone. Blocked. She then messaged me on a snap saying she never agreed to a breakup and I owed her a conversation face to face if I wanted to end things. Blocked again. I know it's bad form to be a guy calling his ex crazy, but this girl is nuts. Edit. I find all the talk about me being shallow pretty funny considering she told me that if I ever gained weight or stopped going to the gym she'd leave me. Hell, she put on weight throughout our entire relationship and it never once made me consider leaving her. I still found her beautiful. When she changed her hair color to colors that I didn't like, I never said a bad word to her about it. I was supportive. I didn't like it, but it wasn't a deal breaker. One last edit. This was great. Sub really is great for getting things off your chest, sub name and whatnot. Had a lot of fun reading responses, and while I didn't need validation to know what I did was right, I still appreciate the supportive folks. The negative ones accusing me of being shallow, controlling, weird, and all sorts of other things because I have a preference were fun too. Didn't change my mind one bit, but I'm glad you guys were able to get those things off your chests as well. Comments. Commenter 1. A breakup is not a debate, and it doesn't need consensus agreement. Commenter 2. She doesn't understand consent. A relationship, or sex, can take place if both parties agree. If either party does not consent it, then it cannot. Commenter 3. You two were just incompatible. Nothing wrong with breaking up over it. On to the next adventure. Reply. Could you please let her know she's supposed to be on a new adventure? She seems to think we're still on the old one. Commenter 4. Be prepared for the crazy to really start now. If you have any shared friends still, make sure it's clear that I have ended the relationship. It has been over since she got the tattoo. Any further attempt for her to contact me is harassment and or stalking behavior and will be reported to the police. Feel free to unblock her and let her be left on read to gather any further evidence of harassment stalking behaviors. Reply. I hope she doesn't escalate, but my friends know we're broken up. A few of her friends know as well. Her best friend seems to share her opinion that we're still together though. If she shows up to bother me, there are cameras all over the place here. Commenter 5. For the sake of your future partner, don't block, just mute. And make sure it's clear you are broken up. You talked about this clearly, before she got the tattoo. She can do whatever she wants, but so can you. Her reaction gives off stalked vibes, and if she can't get to you, there's a chance she'll go for your future partner, because she seduced her man. Commenter 6. She will blame you as well, and many will side with her. Be ready to say, well, if you've already made your decision that I'm at fault without talking to me, then I want nothing to do with such a low-quality friend of such poor character. I thought we were friends and I deserved my side. I guess you just suck as a friend. Oh, strangely enough, even her friends who have reached out to me said they don't blame me. The only person who is on her side is her best friend. Even my friends with tattoos fully support my decision and don't think I've been shallow or controlling as the commenters here seem to think. Update. I came here a week ago to vent about a strange situation with my ex getting a tattoo and it resulting in us breaking up. Weeks later she acted like our breakup was just a spat and that I was being unreasonable. I told her we were broken up permanently and blocked her. She then tried to message me on other platforms demanding a face-to-face meeting because she never agreed to the breakup. In the end, the tattoo was a secondary cause of our breakup in my mind. She disregarded what we'd spoken and agreed about early on in the relationship. When I didn't give her the supportive response she wanted, she proceeded to belittle me and insult me, then kicked me out of her home, which we were close to having me move into full-time. Then she locked herself in the bathroom and loudly insulted me while on the phone with her best friend, whom had been the one to convince her to get the tattoo while I was out of town. At that point we were done. I took my stuff back to my place and brought her stuff from mine back to hers. She showed up at my place last night with a bag full of my bathroom stuff from her place. Just a bottle of body wash and a few other things. She asked to come in and talk, but I stepped outside and we talked out front where the cameras could see. She asked if I was really breaking up with her over a tattoo, and I reiterated that it was about more than the tattoo at this point. And that I wasn't breaking up with her. I already broke up with her weeks ago. She tried to argue with me that our relationship was stronger than that, but I told her that it wasn't. That while I was comfortable with her, this whole incident made me realize I wasn't happy with her. Her treating me poorly was the wake-up call we both needed to go our separate ways and find people we could be truly happy with. She kept trying to argue that this was crazy and I was throwing a good thing away. I told her that I wish she'd just gotten the tattoo when we started dating. We could have broken up and just been friends. She said she'd considered it but decided she'd rather be with me than get the tattoo, so she lied to me when she said she was okay not getting one. Then when I went on my trip, her best friend convinced her to get it and claimed I'd get over it and stick around. Guy that did the first part of her sleeve was an old FWB of her friend and agreed to do it for a discount. Conversation sort of went in circles for a bit before she tossed the bag at me and left crying, yelling, "Fine, we're fucking over then." So that's that. She showed up at my place like a lot of people predicted, but no stabby stabs or anything. Friends told me she made a bunch of vague posts about heartbreak on social media, but I haven't seen any of it. Regardless of how things went down, I hope she heals and finds herself someone who can be more supportive of her choices than I was. Thanks to those people who offered me support for my decision. And to everyone calling me shallow, controlling, and weird for my stance on tattoos, I gotta say I had a blast reading those comments. Absolutely hilarious. Comments. Commenter 1. Her best friend convinced her to get it and claimed I'd get over it and stick around. I really want to know how their friendship is going. Commenter 2. Make some calls. This random stranger on the internet wants to know, LOL. Reply. I have a friend who has been in full-blown Snoop mode the last few weeks after the drama. If there's anything to find, she'll tell me. She's loving this nonsense. Commenter 3. Sounds like your friend is the detective we all need. Keep us updated. Commenter 4. She sounds awesome. Does she have tattoos? I'm getting friend to lover vibes. But please update us, I want to know if they're still friends. Any chance her friend is secretly in love with her? Maybe I've just read too many romance stories. Reply. She's happily married and we've always just been good friends. She introduced me to a friend of hers the other day though, and she and I have been texting a lot. So there's that. I never got a vibe from her friend that she was ever interested in my ex like that. But if that's the case and they end up together, good for them honestly. Stories number 6. Aita for ruining my cousins' lives after they bullied me my whole life. I come from a small family, me, my parents, my paternal grandmother, my maternal aunt, her husband, and my 2 cousins. This situation just pertains to my cousins, as a lot of drama has been centered around them given the events I've caused. My cousins have spent the past 2.5 decades making my life hell, and I finally thought I got revenge. But I think I went too far. For cultural and familial context, I come from a highly traditional family. The kind of family that still does arranged marriages with dowries and looks down on premarital relations. My grandparents were arranged, as were my aunt and mother. Another bit of information, I am the product of unconsented sex, you know what I mean. My mom told me not long after I turned 7 since she knew my aunt and cousins could use it against me. And she was right. And me being unfazed and unhurt by my cousins' taunts made them turn most of our community against me. I had people throw things at me, I was a social pariah, just known as the R-word baby or other nicknames that are too vulgar to type here. People pitted my dad, since he was being forced to raise me, which was very untrue. My dad loves me to bits. My maternal grandparents were the cause of a lot of stress. My grandmother heavily favored my aunt and cousins, often brushing my mom and I to the side. We were left out of family holidays and not invited on family trips. When my grandmother passed, my mom and I got a combined few thousand, while my grandfather got most of her estate and my aunt and cousin received assets worth a solid 100,000 combined. My cousins, in all their bratty glory, bragged and said, inheritance is for family only. Though, by that point in time, I had just learned to ignore them. I got scholarships to pay for college and scraped by doing campus jobs. I graduated a few years ago and was bouncing between jobs when I got a call from my grandfather wanting a meeting. The meeting, held the following week, revealed that my aunt was actually not my grandfather's biological child. Turns out, my grandmother had gotten pregnant from a coworker not long before her marriage to my grandfather was arranged. This meant that my aunt and cousins would only receive the rest of my mom's estate, assets, and properties once he died, not any of his. This got my cousins mad, who defended their mom and said that DNA didn't mean anything. I piped up and reiterated what they had said all those years ago, and that since they didn't share grandfather's blood, they aren't entitled to his inheritance. I think my aunt was just in shock, since she just got up and walked away. My cousins tried to fight my grandfather, but he was ironclad in his decision. When they left, my grandfather gave me and my mom each a check for emotional damages. I bought a huge plot of land with that money with the plan to build my dream house once I got my full inheritance. 7 months ago, my grandfather passed away, and I got my full inheritance after 4 months. It was a life-changing amount of money. I paid off my minimal debts and car, set aside a sizable amount for investing, and upgraded my inherited properties to rent out. The income one make from renting, along with my investments, have allowed me to go part-time at work, which helped me make more time for my old hobbies. Construction of my house has started recently, and some people that once knew my cousins found out I came into money. They started messaging me, asking how I've been and what I'm up to. It gave me flashbacks, all the bullying and torment, and they had the nerve to be friendly to me. One of our old classmates was blunt and simply asked how I was able to afford doing all this, and I figured since my cousins had to out me as a R-word baby, then I shouldn't hold back in outing them. So, I told the classmate the full truth. My aunt was a bastard child, my cousins are illegitimate to my grandfather's family, and that my mom and I were his only true heirs. It didn't even take 48 hours before my phone was being blasted by my cousins, who said I ruined their lives since nobody wants to talk to them now. I simply replied, sucks being on the other end of the stick, before blocking them. I have been in therapy since I got out of college, healing from how I was treated my whole childhood and teenage years. I was satisfied that they now knew just a smidge of my pain, but then my own mom texted me, saying that it was too far to implode their social lives. I figured I was just returning their actions, revenge and some might say karma. But, the fact my own mom, the same one everyone shunned, is saying I went too far is making me second-guess myself. Aita for ruining my cousins' lives after they bullies me for years. Update. Just wish to keep everyone updated and add more information. Firstly, I am from China, but currently live abroad. I know arranged marriages aren't as common, but in my social circle, it is common since the wealthy shouldn't marry commoners. All that outdated bullshit, you can clearly see why I left that life behind me. Second, I am a girl, while my 2 cousins are twin boys. That was also another reason I left China. Even with money, people are still sexist jerks. I am much happier where I currently am. And finally, my mother and father did defend me as a child. However, after one dinner, my mom was sick of my aunt and cousins heckling me and outed the fact my aunt had an abortion before her marriage. Apparently, her husband didn't know this, and it caused tension in their marriage for a few years. During that time, we were not invited to anything and my school even temporarily expelled me because my grandmother paid them out. So, after that, we took on a grin and bear it attitude. Now, on to what's happening. My cousins have now started spouting that they are going to contest the will, since my aunt didn't consent to a DNA test, documentation had been found alongside my grandfather's will. I talked to the man who handled my grandfather's will, and he said that he doesn't think they have a case since they still got my grandmother's assets, a strategic move on my grandfather's part since it was still a sizable amount, just not as much as his wealth. He still advised me to move my inheritance to an overseas account. He highly recommends an account in my current nation of residence, which I wanted to hold off on since the current political climate is not good and the exchange rate will lessen the value of my money. I'm sure you can guess where I live now, lol. However, I am willing to do it upon getting more legal advice. My cousins also said they are going to sue me for defamation, which I personally don't think they have a case with since all I did was tell the truth, and emotional damages, which they have more of a case for since in China, only extreme cases are eligible for that charge. At this point, I want to wash my slate clean, but my cousins are going to keep dragging this out, and I honestly don't know what to do. While I am part-time, I don't want to have to use my garnered PTO to go back and face this. At this point, I am very stressed out. My mom has told me that my cousins aren't actually going to do anything, that she heard from my aunt they're just mad, and to give it a few weeks. But, I can barely handle the stress after a few days. She wants me to wait possible weeks. Like, what? Stories number 7. Aita for beating my parents to the chase and moving out in the middle of the night. 18F, overheard conversations with my mom and my dad, 39F and 40M, about how they planned to kick me out shortly after my 18th birthday. The way they were talking about it seemed like they were dead serious, and the way it was brought up multiple times made it seem like they were going to kick me out too. So, I decided that I wouldn't give them the chance to kick me out and made plans with my friend, Riley, 17F, to stay at her place until I graduated and moved into a college dorm or had an apartment of my own. Riley's parents were horrified by the thought my parents would kick me out the second I turned 18 and agreed to let me stay at their place as long as I graduated high school. Riley, her parents, and my boyfriend, Cole, 18M, came after midnight to help me take my belongings to their car and drive me to Riley's house. My parents woke up in the middle of this, and asked me what the hell was going. I kinda shrugged and told them that I was moving out before they could kick me out. My parents tried to deny this, and attempted to stop me from leaving, but there was nothing that they could do since I'm a legal adult. By the way, I wasn't just going to leave in the middle of the night without any goodbye. I already put a note on the kitchen table where my mom goes to first in the morning, explaining what happened. Right now, I'm at Riley's house in their spare bedroom, and I've gotten bombarded with calls from my parents asking me to come back and not to tell my grandparents about this. In one text, my mom called me an ungrateful bitch for leaving in the middle of the night, and that she should have kicked me out sooner. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA. If it was one conversation that you overheard, I'd say you overreacted. But since it was several times and no note of sarcasm or joking, then you did right. Also, your mom saying she should have kicked you out sooner is pretty clear. The fact that they don't want your grandparents to know also shows they know it's wrong. You don't mention any reasons why they would want to kick you out. Have you been in trouble? Do they dislike your BF? Bad grades? Reply. I remember from a few conversations, two unrelated to kicking me out, about my mom wanting office and I haven't in big trouble like getting trouble with the laws. Grades are pretty good, and they've so far expressed approval about Cole. Top comment. Commenter 1. My mom called me an ungrateful bitch for leaving in the middle of the night, and that she should have kicked me out sooner. Well, there's your hardcore proof. Calls from my parents asking me to come back and not to tell my grandparents about this. Are you close to your grandparents? Do you think they'd want to know? If so, you've got quite the collection of texts to show them. NTA. Update. Aita for beating my parents to the chase and moving out in the middle of the night. Reposting this on my profile because my post got instantly removed because I mentioned a YouTube channel. Well, I certainly wasn't expecting to see my story on r/ when I woke up this morning, but here we are. I honestly forget about this account, and struggled to remember the password, but here we go. A lot of shocking information was revealed, and this is just my brief, messy account of it. So, like you all suggested I do, I told my grandparents what happened with screenshots of my parents' texts after I went to Riley's house. Let me tell you, that they were livid at what my parents were saying to me and the fact they were planning to kick me out. I ended up meeting up with them, and staying with them at their place for a few days while they tried to figure out what the fuck was going on with my parents. My mom and dad were being sent money monthly by my grandma and grandpa for my college fund since they mostly depleted it, after my brother Alex moved out because he was tired of them begging him for money due to their gambling addictions. My mom admitted that their plan was to kick me out, but act like I moved out willingly because I found an apartment, and get double the money that they were previously getting to help out with my rent money once they asked my grandparents for it. Grandma yelled at my mom over the phone and told her that she'd never see a dime of her money again. She told my mom that she would rewrite her will so that the money my mom would have gotten would go to me, which my mom freaked out at. My dad blew up my phone one more time before I blocked both him and my mom's numbers for good, calling me an evil cunt and telling me that he wished my mom aborted me. So yeah, I talked with my brother, Alex, and the only thing he really had to say, or ask, I guess was why our parents' scummy behavior hadn't been called out when they were trying to legitimately steal his paychecks to go gamble. I'm sorry if this is kinda rambly, but this was the best I could do at the moment. Thank you all for your advice, and I'll maybe give another update if anything else happens, but I doubt it will. Stories number 8. Aita for refusing to make my Asael's wedding cake for free. I, 29F, run a bakery business that I've built from the ground up during the past 5 years. It started as a hobby during college, but now it's a registered business with steady clients, a dedicated workspace, and consistent orders during each month. I do mostly for weddings, birthdays, and other events. I take a lot of pride in what I do, and it's not just baking for fun anymore. This is my livelihood. My Asael, 33F, is getting married at the beginning of June. She's my wife's older sister. We're on friendly terms, but she's always had this vibe like she doesn't really take what I do seriously. She's made comments like, "It must be nice getting to play in the kitchen all day," or, "You're lucky people will pay for something they could probably learn on YouTube." Always with a smile, like it's a joke but not really. I've brushed these comments off in the past, since they weren't happening all the time and I just didn't want to stir up any drama. So earlier this month, she asked if I'd make her wedding cake. I said sure and asked what she had in mind. She sent over inspo pics of a 4-tier cake with smooth buttercream, floral piping, and real flowers on top and cascading down one side. She wanted it to be a chocolate sponge with raspberry filling in terms of taste. Plus, she wanted for me to deliver to the venue myself on the morning of the wedding rather than picking it up the day before herself. After we got done discussing everything, I gave her a quote over the phone with a generous family discount, and Asael replied almost instantly that she didn't think I'd be charging her and the cake would essentially be a wedding gift. I told her that I don't typically do wedding cakes as gifts because of how much time and work they take, but I'd be happy to buy her something from her registry instead or still make the cake at the discounted price if she wanted. She wasn't happy. Said I was being transactional and that it was just a cake and I clearly didn't want to be part of her special day before hanging up on me. To be clear, I have made cakes for free before. But those were small, simple ones for people I care about, or for friends who were going through a rough time. This isn't that my Asael and her fiancé can pay for the cake, and it's not like she's exactly respected my work in the past. Meanwhile, Asael has been telling anyone who will listen that I'm making her big day about myself and trying to profit off her happiness. Seriously, my MIL called and she didn't really ask how I felt or try to understand where I was coming from, she just seemed overwhelmed and kind of desperate to stop this from turning into a bigger family fight. She kept going on about how stressed my Asael was and how she was being a bit much, but basically begged me to reconsider. My wife is completely on my side and has told her mom to stop trying to smooth things over at my expense, but even she admitted she sorta wishes I just said yes to avoid the fallout. Stories number 9. My best friend married the dumbest woman I have ever met and it's ruined our friendship. They've been together since they were in high school, and I'm convinced he never thought he could do better, so he just dealt with it. He became a doctor, and they have 2 kids, and she makes all the decisions about their care. She doesn't want them to go to school because she doesn't trust what they teach them. She's homeschooling them even though she failed her teaching certification 3 times and gave up on that career. Their kids have no vaccines. When I asked my best friend why, he admitted, he just didn't want to have the fight with his wife even though he's vaccinated and a professional in the medical field. I lost most of my respect for him. It makes me really sad. We've known each other since middle school, and dude is a shell of that super intelligent ambitious guy he was. I told them I couldn't trust them to be godparents to my daughter since we fundamentally disagreed with how they are raising their kids. 20+ years of friendship is pretty much gone now. Edit for extra info since some people wanted to know more. His wife was in education, and I say was because she was fired from multiple jobs as a teacher for poor performance. Last job demoted her twice from teacher to aide to library assistant before they let her go. She never got her teaching license, which was part of the reason she got demoted. She couldn't pass the certification exams no matter how often she took them. The last count was at 3 before she gave up on the profession. They weren't always like this in our early 20s. She was big into fashion and cosmetics. Competed in a few local pageants. She went into teaching because her mom was a teacher. They moved to a semi-rural area and she became super devout. This was new because they were never like this, but whatever. That's when the homeschooling started along with the anti-science vaccines. Autism runs on his side of the family. His brother is high-functioning and highly skilled in robotics. Her sister has an autistic child, blames vaccines even though autism also runs on her husband's side of the family. They were our daughter's godparents, which would make them legal guardians if anything were to happen to us. I couldn't in good conscience keep them as guardians because if he won't advocate for his kids knowing what he knows, he won't advocate for mine. Edit 2. Seen the comment that godparents doesn't make them legal guardians and wanted to clarify. We grew up in the Caribbean and the term godparents legal guardians is interchangeable for us. They are in our will as legal guardians right now that we are working on changing. Stories number 10. My daughter's dance teacher invited her to a sleepover at her house. Whipped for formally complaining. My daughter is 7. She's been taking ballet lessons since she was 4, but has only been enrolled in this particular dance school for about a year. There are only 6 other girls in her class, all around her age, and she has 2 lessons a week. Anyway, earlier this week my daughter came home with an invitation from her teacher. She's inviting the girls, all 7 of them, to spend the night at her house on the last weekend of April. According to my daughter, the teacher told the girls that it's a slumber party. The pitch apparently included McDonald's, movies and games. I've spoken to the other moms and they've all confirmed that their daughters got the same invitation. None of us have been notified by the school, so I have to assume the teacher is planning this on her own. She has not spoken to any of us about this directly, only to our daughters. Some of the girls seem to be excited, but my daughter is still anxious about spending the night away from us, so she wouldn't be going even if I was okay with this, which I'm not. I have never spoken to this teacher about anything besides my child, nor do I know anything about her personal life or home. I've been thinking of complaining to the dance school about this, because I've never heard of teachers doing this before and I'm a little freaked out. But at least 2 of the other moms don't seem to have a problem with it, and I can't help but wonder whether I'm overreacting. Is this normal? Honestly, I just need some advice here. Notable comments. Commenter 1, my daughter's dance teachers would invite students to a sleepover in the dance studio, with other teachers. That's how they do it. Commenter 2, teachers shouldn't be inviting students to sleepovers at their homes without formal school involvement or parental communication. This is what you should do: talk to the school directly, voice your concern, and ask for clear policies around boundaries and off-hours contact. Reply honestly, I think I'd still be bothered if she had communicated with us, but the fact she spoke directly to the girls before anything else does make things worse. Commenter 3, I'm curious how old this teacher is. Most people with life experience would be aware that this is inappropriate regardless of the intention. It could be that she genuinely wants to go above and beyond for her students and give them a treat. I think it should be reported not to get her in trouble but as a learning experience. Reply early 30s. I think she's around my age, but on the younger side. Commenter 4, nah, that's very weird. If the school and parents were aware and consented then it'd probably be okay, but to only bring it up to the kids is very strange. I suggest you and the other moms go to the school about this. Reply. I don't speak to most of the other moms as much as I wish I did. It's a pretty famous dance school in our area, and a couple of them seem to be stage mom types. I talk regularly to some of the other ones about the kids, but my husband is usually the one who picks our daughter up, so I don't have that much contact. The group chat, which is how we're discussing this, is for emergencies only. What I could do is ask if anyone else wants to do something about this. Another comment from OOP: only a couple of the other moms have said they're okay with it. I haven't heard much from the other ones, but some did seem weirded out as well. I want to talk to them next time I see them in person. Literally all I, and the other moms, know about this comes from the girls and the invitation. The latter includes the teacher's address, what time it starts and a reminder to bring PJs. And another from OOP: the invitation does not address or mention the parents at all. She included her phone number, but didn't ask for ours. And one more from OOP: I'm more than open to the idea of talking to her, and after reading the comments, I definitely will, but I'm almost certain this isn't a school event. They have notified me about events in the past. Update. Thank you all for your input. A lot has happened, but I'll try to keep this short. I won't waste time and try to convince anyone to like me. If you've already decided I'm a true crime-obsessed neurotic helicopter parent Karen with diaper energy and social anxiety issues, I don't think there's much I can say that will change your mind. And yes, I've heard of lock-ins. My son had one with his swim team last year. He's a bit older, it happened at the pool, guardians were informed before the children were and one of the other parents chaperoned. It's not the same thing as an unofficial sleepover at a teacher's house. All of that said, I never intended to risk this woman's job, I was just worried. So I spoke to my husband, and we decided to take your advice and speak to my daughter's teacher first. He spoke to her while picking up our daughter last week. He said the conversation went fine, but he was bothered by her reaction when he said our daughter wouldn't attend. He told the teacher our kid was anxious, but she replied that the sleepover would be a great opportunity for her to come out of her shell, and that we should try to encourage our daughter to come. During the conversation, my husband also found out the following. She came up with the sleepover idea because she wanted to bond with the girls and figured it would be fun. She didn't ask for another parent to act as a chaperone because her husband had offered to help her, first time she ever mentioned his existence. When asked about what she'd do in case of emergency, she just stated she lived about 10 minutes away from a hospital. She didn't ask for the parents' contact information because she didn't think of it. After he told me all this, I decided to email the dance school. I wrote that the teacher was planning a sleepover, about which the parents had not received a lot of information. 2 days later, we all got an email from the teacher, stating she was canceling the sleepover due to a complaint from the dance school. She also apologized for not being more transparent with us. Ultimately, even though I still don't know what the sleepover would have been like, I don't regret this. When it comes to my children, I'd rather be paranoid and wrong than regretful and right. If I complained and it turned out to be a completely innocent event, I'd feel embarrassed, even after apologizing, but it might be something I could laugh about someday. If I let my daughter go and something happened to her, or any of the other girls, would never forgive myself. I will reply to comments for the next day or so, but I won't update again. Thank you all. Stories number 11. Aita for telling the real reason I'm no longer a bridesmaid. I, 25F, had been friends with Cami, 25F, since kindergarten when her family moved next door to mine when we were both 6. We have been through everything together and once considered the other as a sister. We both have even moved to the same state to be close to one another. About 2 years ago Cami started dating Andrew, 36M, who I did not like. He was a lot older than her and just did not seem like the right guy for her. She once asked me what I thought of him at the beginning of their relationship and I told her my opinion of him being too old, but she told me that everything was fine and that age was just a number. I honestly didn't see anything else bad about him, so I eventually learned to let that go, but always had that uneasy feeling about him. 8 months ago Andrew proposed to Cami and she immediately asked me to be a bridesmaid. I said yes and was happy for her. Her wedding was in late February of this year. In early November, Cami comes over to my apartment to tell me that she had been actively cheating on Andrew for the past 6 months with some guy from her work. She told me that Andrew found out and instead of getting angry with her, asked for her forgiveness and wanted to know as to how he could be a better partner to her because he was failing her. She said the reason she was telling me was to go ahead and get it off her chest before I found out from someone else and thought badly of her. When she told me I could tell she had no remorse and didn't even regret her cheating. I was shocked and asked if she regretted what she did and she said it hurt her to see Andrew so upset, but she explained that things were so hot at work that the tension was too much for her and her coworker to ignore. I told her that I was no longer going to be a bridesmaid and wasn't going to attend her wedding because I don't associate myself with cheaters and no longer supported her marriage, especially since she did not think what she did was wrong. Cami got very mad at me and told me off and eventually blocked me on everything. I never explained to anyone about her cheating for my reason as to why I chose not to go and I made sure to not talk bad about Cami to anyone who asked because I did consider her to be a sister. We have not talked since that day and I know she and Andrew got married. Fast forward to last week and I am out with my BF at a coffee shop where I run into one of Cami's bridesmaids that is also one of her coworkers. She walked up to me and asked how I was and I said fine and told her it was good to see her. She then apologized for being too forward, but wanted to know if Cami and I ever made up after our incident before her wedding. Confused, I asked what the incident was and she eventually told me that Cami explained to the bridal party that I chose to leave because of my feelings for Andrew and that I couldn't see him get married because of how I felt. I was appalled. Not only did I not have any romantic feelings for Andrew, I never even really liked him. I told the bridesmaid that the reason I left was because of Cami's affair with her coworker, who she knows as well because they all work together. When I told her that, the bridesmaid said she remembered Cami and the coworker being close, but didn't know about the affair. She left the coffee shop not long after the conversation and I felt guilty about telling her that since I haven't told anyone. My BF says me telling her that makes it look as if I'm trying to hurt Cami and Andrew, therefore making it seem as if I do like Andrew. Aita for telling her that. I don't know if she told Cami I said that, and I don't know how Cami and Andrew are doing, but I do feel bad that I shared her business to someone she works with. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. You were simply correcting a lie. Cami didn't need to come up with a lie to explain away your departure from the bridal party. You have every right to defend yourself. I feel sorry for Andrew. Hopefully he will one day realize his worth and accept that his wife's infidelity is not his fault. Commenter 2, it seems likely that you would have kept this secret forever. Until she did the one thing necessary to bring the story out into the public again. She had it coming. I could never fault you for doing this. You were a good person who handled things well. Look, for what it's worth, she's headed for a divorce sooner or later anyway. Her life is hell. She'll get hers. She's getting it now. You're a fine person. Carry on. Update 1. I feel like whenever I post on here something immediately happens resulting in an update. Cami's other bridesmaid, who I saw at the coffee shop, reached out to me last night through Facebook. I'll call her Jenna. Guess whose mugshot was posted on our local news site? Andrew. I won't exactly say what he did, but it involves his work computer, personal computer and phone. So you can make your assumptions from that. Cammy reached out to Jenna a few nights ago crying saying that Andrew had been arrested while on shift because of what the IT guy found on his work computer. Jenna decided to tell me because Cammy mentioned to her how I always felt uneasy about Andrew and how she should have listened. Jenna asked Cammy why would I, cause I was so in love with him, and that's when Cammy came clean and told her about the lie and about her affair with their coworker. Cammy went on to explain that ever since her and Andrew married, Andrew became very physical with her because of her affair. He waited until there was a ring on her finger to really tell her how he felt about the cheating. I asked Jenna if Cammy said anything about still seeing the coworker while they were married, and Jenna said Cammy is still seeing him, but swears it's just friendship now. That's why Andrew was so upset with her. Jenna did admit to me that she told Cammy she saw me the other day, which made Cammy ask if she'd think I'd be willing to talk to her. Jenna told her that she didn't know, but could try to see what would happen. Cammy hasn't reached out to me yet and I don't know if she will. I don't know what I will do if she does. But that's the update about her for now. I've noticed there were a few people in my last post talking about my BF's response. To let you know, I did ask him about it and he said he was more worried about how it made me look in that moment. I'll accept that answer for now, but if he acts up, I will definitely think about things. So far he's been great, but that's it hopefully. I'll probably update if Cammy ever reaches out, but I'm kind of hoping she doesn't. Top comments. Commenter 1, you had every right to clear your name on a lie that was told about you. Nobody will ever be the AH for that. Cammy doesn't sound like a good person, so I'd hold her at a very far arm's length if she does try to reach out. Commenter 2, stop wondering if she'll reach out to you and just block her already. Unless you enjoy eating popcorn as you watch her drama unfold, there's really nothing there for you, is there? Can you ever really truly respect her like you did before you found out? Update 2, Cammy reached out to me. I was starting to think she wasn't going to, but she texted me last night asking if we could talk. I responded, is this about your husband being in jail? And she immediately called me. She was crying. She kept saying she had no idea Andrew was like that and wished she paid more attention to how I felt about him. I told her that I had no idea he was doing that and am sorry for how he was. She said something about being a hot divorcee, and a few other things about this finally freeing her, as if she wasn't actively cheating on Andrew throughout most of their relationship. She then asked how I was doing. She didn't even apologize for spreading that lie about me liking her husband. I asked if we were going to talk about what she said to the bridal party about my absence. She paused, laughed, then asked me if I was really upset over something that wasn't as bad as what Andrew ended up doing. I just hung up. I probably wouldn't have if I didn't read your comments on my last update saying not to give her the time of day, and you all were right. She does not care about me after all we've been through together. I blocked her number so I don't know if she tried to reach out again, but I'm done. But that's the update. Top comments. Commenter 1, the trash took itself out. Keep it that way. Commenter 2, she's an awful person too. Who continues to cheat on their partner, spread lies, and shows no remorse. She should be treated as toxic waste. Good for you for blocking her. Commenter 3, wow, Cammy sounds like a real gem. Good on you for cutting that toxic friendship out of your life. And as for Andrew, sounds like karma caught up to him. Stories number 12. Aita for canceling our date because she was 15 minutes late. To clarify, in my profile I have listed people not being on time as my biggest red flag. In our chat I talked about how punctuality is a really important virtue to me, and when we planned the date I specifically told her to text me should something come up or if there are any delays. Come the time and day of the date and she isn't there. I wait and check my phone and she hadn't texted me anything. She finally arrives 15 minutes late. She greets me but doesn't even apologize for being late. I ask her why she was late. She shrugs and says that taking ready just took longer than expected. I ask her if before she drove here she already knew she wouldn't make it in time. She says yes. I ask her why she didn't text me. She said she didn't because she was only a little late and started looking visibly annoyed. At that point I excused myself, said our values don't align and left her there. She proceeded to shout after me and blew up my phone before I unmatched her when I got home. Aita. I just have absolutely zero tolerance for not being on time without good reason, especially when you don't even communicate it properly or aren't even sorry about it, and I know my standards are harsh but I feel like I was very open about it and gave plenty of warnings. Stories number 13. Aita for planning on ending our relationship today because he acts like his daughter is heiress to my things. My F37 boyfriend, Ben M42, has been asking weird questions and expecting me to do things that would go against my plans for my own family. Things have been working out for me in the past few years, but this year has been amazing. I decided to cut down on my daily workload a bit after I got 3 accounts that are helping me reach some financial goals. I'm planning on buying a house for my family. I downsized my current living situation, renting, after my kids went to live, temporarily, with my parents for this semester while I completed my certified training and graduated from my present program in uni. My new place isn't as nice looking as other places, but the price was a good cut from living expenses for me. I can both walk to the office and uni, and I hardly have to move my car for anything. I'm saving money that I'm putting in an account for my kids. Ben absolutely hates my place. It's clean and in a relatively safe area, it's just that it's a mix of student area, old families, and traffic can get messy from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and some houses are simple and elegant and some look like tacky add-ons. I don't care if my place doesn't look nice on the outside. It's not like it's an eyesore, and it's up to me to make it livable on the inside. I had 2 other choices. Choice A cost $200 less than my previous place, with access to a community pool and 2 bedrooms. I don't need more than 1 bedroom at the moment and I don't really have time to enjoy the pool. Choice B was a bit lower, but about 45 minutes away. It was beautiful and close to the school where Ben's kid went. He did hint at it, but he would have needed to get on the lease and come up with the difference between this place and my new studio apartment that I chose. Also, living together is a major decision, and right now, I really need to focus on my career and education. He said he understood, but he didn't take it well. He told me that his daughter was disappointed because she would have liked a nice place to hang out. Ben lives in an apartment. It's an average place with no problems or issues, so what he said came out as a weird remark. Fast forward, and he started asking questions. First, he asked if I would be interested in partnering with him for a business idea. I said no because I already made a commitment to self-fund my own venture. Second, I'm not familiar with the industry that he wanted to break into. Then, he began noticing things about things that I owned. I'm not hiding that I'm financially stable, but I don't spend a lot. He did notice that I've bought a few nice items and started telling jokes that felt harmless. Then he said that I was loaded and that his daughter would be an awesome protege. I stayed quiet, TBH, because I think he might have been offended, but there's no way in hell that I would allow entrance to what I've built to anyone other than my kids. Also, he said that I should treat his daughter as very special because I only had boys, and she's my chance to have a girl in the family, his words. Don't get me wrong, she's a good kid. I have never missed out on gifting her nice and thoughtful presents on her birthdays and the holidays, but his words created a sense of discomfort and disgust for me. It felt like reversed sexism, and I told him, she and I have a decent relationship, but there's no way that I will give her access to my money if that means to treat her as my own. I know this sounds very wrong, but it's how I feel. She's not the kind of kid who's a bully or nasty or anything, but she's not my child, and every time that he asks for things, I feel like he's trying to get me to take from my kids to give to her. It happened again when I gave her a short-term weekend job. The office cleaning lady wasn't available, so I hired his daughter for a Saturday cleaning. She did a good job, I paid her, and took her to the mall to get her some makeup that she wanted, and she came back next weekend. When he picked her up, he started joking that she would start from the bottom and rise to be top executive like any other kid at their family business. I didn't say anything because she was there, but I did approach him later on and mention it to him. I tried to be gentle, but it was important for us to at least discuss expectations. His initial reaction wasn't what I expected. To be fair, I think he got nervous or embarrassed, but I didn't like his reaction. So he said something about me potentially putting her in my will. I'd like to clarify that he laughed, so I think it was a joke, but I also think that he wouldn't have clarified if I'd gone along. I simply stayed quiet and told him that I cared about his daughter, but it isn't fair to create any expectations. I've worked so hard to give my kids a better future, and it's taken me over 10 years, and the fact that he only sees the results without taking my past and my ordeal into consideration feels disrespectful. I also mentioned how he wanted me to change my budget and plans for a different property while he knew that moving together isn't an option, and that he stayed silent when I mentioned he would have needed to pay the difference on the lease. Also, I mentioned that I would not make unnecessary sacrifices. Nothing else was said. He stormed out of my car and, this is why I feel like the asshole here, started walking with his hand in his pocket and a weak smirk. I had to drive slowly next to him to convince him to get back inside the car because I hate Dr. David Banner scenes. He looked like a kicked puppy. After I dropped him off, he has been sending me texts about being disconnected from what a blended family actually is, showing that I think his daughter is inferior, being a hypocrite, and bullying. This has disturbed my inner peace because I'm just defending whatever legacy I have built, and having to do it against my partner just doesn't feel right. We talked about it, and he apologized, and I did the same in case I was too harsh. He said we could find some middle ground, and I was open to it. When he talked about helping him create a business for his daughter, I began to get angry because, again, it would be sweat equity for me. I declined because I did all the sweating I had to, but it was for me, and what he's asking just isn't fair. It's a responsibility, and I truly like to do things appropriately. I don't want to say yes and do it half-ass, and I don't want to work for free. I also don't want to mix anything between business and pleasure because it's my network, and my contacts, and again, it could go very nice and well or it could be a shit show, and I don't want that. I'm also concerned that he will ramp up and keep asking and asking for things. He said that if I don't help, he will feel like we will never build anything together. I said he needed to hire a consultant, but he stayed quiet, so I told him that he shouldn't place the responsibility of his present situation on me. He said that I'm probably blinded by my success, but that one day, I'll wake up single and lonely. I asked if he was threatening to leave me, and he said I'm not acting like a helpful partner. I asked for a break, and he freaked out. I'm just trying to keep my mental health in check because his constant asking and jokes have made me anxious. Also, I'm very angry and thinking that he just wants a handout. I texted him this morning asking to talk. I want to break up. He said he hopes I'm not planning on dumping him because it would mean that I just tricked him into a break. He posted something about his own mental health today. Aita for deciding to end things. We haven't talked yet, but that's my intention. I don't see his kid as inferior at all. I just want to keep my money out of it. Edit, to the judgmental people calling me names for letting my kids live with my parents for this semester only, please enlighten me. Would it be a great option to reject a good opportunity and finish my education to gain your approval? Right, because not doing my best to give them a good financial start in life is a better option. Also, where did you get that I'm an absent mother? Did I say that I don't see them or spend time with them? To those who offer advice, thank you. To those who disagree but diff jump to, mothers should not do what they can to secure their kids' financial future and stay poor but at home, thanks. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, info, how long have you been together? Do you live together? That's actually a little unclear, but I read your post as indicating no. Have you had serious disagreements on serious things, and how have you each acted during them? Reply, almost 2 years together. Not living together. Our other serious disagreements have been about his jokes, which are sometimes demeaning. He stopped when I froze him out for days. OOP clarifies on why she doesn't have her kids with her while attending school. Reply, no, I travel either on Thursday nights, when permitted, or Friday afternoons if I can't skip presential meetings or have to work on my thesis. They don't travel because it's easier for me to move and get back on Monday. Is marriage on the table for both OOP and her boyfriend? Reply, no, we are not engaged. Commenter 2, how old are all the kids in this situation? Reply, mine, 7M, 5M, his 15F. Commenter 3, wait. So he thinks you should focus on his almost grown daughter instead of your kids that have several years of school and maintenance to maintain? Reply, and that should be his job and obligation, not mine. Downvoted commenter, ESH, he is definitely trying to get his daughter into your bank account for financial gain, so yes, break up. But no amount of money is worth you as a mother not mothering your young children. They are 5 and 7. If you don't have time, energy, money to parent them, then you don't have time for a relationship either. YTA, OOP, because rejecting an opportunity to give them a good future is the best option. Right. Why are you assuming that I'm absent and don't see them? Update, we formally broke up today, and he made it very difficult to focus on our conversation. He interrupted me every 5 seconds and was in denial for almost half of it. I asked to meet at a small restaurant, public place strategy, to avoid any type of drama. I tried to be respectful but definitely wanted to bring up my uneasiness and feelings about his behavior. He tried to brush it off at first, but when I insisted, he evaded the subject. I told him what he already knows, my children are my priority as a sole provider, and I want to ensure that they have their needs covered. There were some comments on my other post that I had thought about but hadn't verbalized. Like, what would he inherit my kids, or what's his plan for his own kid? I know he doesn't have much, but that's no excuse. When I established the comparison between what he wanted for his kid versus what he would give to mine, his face changed, like I was greedy and he was insulted. He said my kids don't have a dad and that he can provide a paternal figure. This triggered me so much that I had to try and keep my volume in check. My thought is that being there like a piece of furniture in exchange for financial benefits for his own kid is acceptable to him. I would have loved for my kids to have a decent dad, but that's just not in the cards, and right now, I'm better off alone than with Ben. I was so angry that he kept asking me to calm down. He said he's leaving his daughter good knowledge on life in general because there are things that only he can offer since her mom is too secular, whatever that means, and I didn't ask him. I said that we needed to break up, and he immediately got upset and left our table. I thought he was gone, but he came back later and claimed he only went to use the restroom. I told him that I can't share any part of my life with him after he behaved like a gold digger, and that even if I was able to get past this, I would never even consider getting back together because his intentions are entitled and dishonest. All in all, I'm just glad that we weren't alone. He has high blood pressure issues, real, I've seen the medication, and sometimes, I've suspected some types of mental health issues, going from 0 to 100 for things that seemed incongruent. He said he was truly sorry if he offended me and said that he felt tricked and betrayed. That breaks are meant for introspection and to seek improvement and not to abandon a relationship. That my actions will have an impact on his daughter because she really likes me. I offered to have a last call text with her if he agreed, but his answer was, no, fuck you, you don't get to say anything to her. He said that I'm caught up in my new, mainstream life, whatever that means. It's fucking offensive considering that I've worked for my financial stability after a few years of things being great. He told me to go suck on my colleagues' DCKs but immediately apologized. I told him I'm not surprised at his behavior, since it shows me that he seems to think sex can solve anything. I also said that since he was being gross and vulgar, I'm learning just now that men like him are unfuckable, homosexual, handout seekers, and insincere. And that I will never date someone who is not financially stable, ever again, because this is a huge lesson. I wish that I could say that I had left him sitting alone at the table, but he left first. When I was about to get my handbag to pay for my food, he rushed to get his backpack and walked off really quick. I blocked him everywhere, but I already changed my locks. He never had a key nor did he stay over, but I'm just being cautious. So that's my update. I also blocked him on social media and messaging apps. Comments. Commenter 1, tie for the update. Secular usually means not religious. I'm guessing that based on the rest of the picture you've painted of this man, that his ex doesn't respect his patriarchal rights to tell her own business and manage her own finances. He sounds like a manipulative partner at best. I don't think you would have ever wanted him as a father figure to your sons. Commenter 2, fucking hallelujah. I remember seeing this the first time and getting the ick over his behavior. Way to go OP. You protected yourself, your sons, and his daughter. She would have been caught in the middle your entire relationship. I know it sucks, but you definitely deserve a little celebratory drink or something. What you did is so hard to do. You're a beast. Reply, what I think is that he's hurting his daughter by giving her a wrong standpoint of reality. Hard work is a thing and she will scrape if she doesn't know how to apply herself. Commenter 3, the secular comment and the comments on her mainstream life give me the creeps. I wonder if he was aiming for a religious-based relationship where he would be the man of the house and his word would be the final say. Commenter 4, he's not upset that you broke up, he's upset that you aren't falling for his manipulation, and that now he has to lose you as his financial fallback. You handled everything graciously, and the fact he tried using his daughter as another form of manipulation to try and get you to reconsider, but then turning around and not giving a shit about her feelings and not letting you have a proper goodbye shows where his true priorities lie. Congratulations on losing a moocher. You can now freely live your life without his constant backhanded remarks and attempts to ingratiate his daughter to you. I just feel bad for her, but that's not in your control. That's entirely on him. Stories number 14. My 21 boyfriend, 22, is going out for dinner with a girl he met at a party. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 3.5 years. Back in August of 2018, my boyfriend and I went to my best friend's birthday party. It was pretty small, 10 or so people. We both met this girl, a coworker of my best friend, who didn't know anyone else there. At the party, my boyfriend and her were talking quite a bit, and I was with them for a lot of the night and we got along well, but since I was close with a lot of people there I obviously had conversations with other people there. Whereas my boyfriend and her were not close to most of the people there and therefore talked more. I was super happy that my boyfriend was being outgoing and talkative because he can be a bit asocial at parties. And didn't think anything of them talking a lot, other than, yay he's having fun, lol. In December of 2018, the girl reaches out to my boyfriend on Instagram. She got both of our Instagrams back in August, and asks him to meet up for lunch to catch up, and they go back and forth about saying how much they got along and how they feel like they could be really good friends, how they don't want to miss out. He showed me the first few messages. And I found it weird how expressive they were about how much they liked each other even though they were only talking for a few hours, much of the time with other people, including myself. I haven't looked at his texts, but she does text him late at night sometimes, and he never replies to her when I'm there. I don't want to cross that line, but honestly I feel tempted to. I talked to him about it a few times saying I'm uncomfortable about them meeting up, that it's weird. Like several months after meeting for a few hours, my best friend thinks it's weird too. It's just weird, and I'm uncomfortable. They are planning to meet up and it just makes my heart really heavy and sad. He also told me yesterday that he told her I was uncomfortable with him and her getting along. Which I felt was kinda a slap in the face because he has admitted that it's weird, but kinda put me in a bad light, then later said he said it in a joking way. Every time I bring it up he talks about when I go out with friends in a group and a guy is there, even though I have always been 100% faithful and never been shady, and never wanted to meet up with someone I met at a party alone. He has had a past which has made it hard for me to trust him. He texted his ex asking to hang out 2 days before he asked me to be his official girlfriend. We were seeing each other exclusively for 3 months before. And also was being extremely flirty, talking about sex, thongs etc., a few months into our relationship over text with one of his friend's ex-girlfriends. This is a whole mess LMAO, I'm kinda all over the place, just wanna know if this is like normal and if I should get over it. TLDR, BF is meeting up with a woman we met briefly at a party. Woman met him 4 months on Instagram after first meeting. Top comments. Commenter 1. You're watching your boyfriend go on a date. Think about that. Commenter 2. He told her you were uncomfortable because he wanted to gauge her reaction. If I was trying to befriend a dude and his GF was uncomfortable I'd say, oh no, we should invite her. What redeeming qualities does this dude have that you're willing to let him disrespect you like this? Commenter 3. He is testing boundaries with both women, and so far it seems like he feels he can get away with it. Also, super shady that he joked with her about your discomfort with his meeting up with her. He is supposed to be your partner. That, in itself, would feel like a betrayal to me. Forget red flags. This situation is a nuclear bomb. Commenter 4. Every married taken man that has been trying to get with me has done that joke. Either wouldn't your boyfriend get jealous or my girlfriend thinks we should be alone together, suggestively. Update. I first just want to say thank you to the many people who have reached out to me both publicly and privately about my post. I never expected to get so much support or to do an update post, but some have requested it, and I feel like you guys have been so awesome that I can't not do one. Last night, I broke up with him. I confronted him again about the situation, showed him the original post here, and asked to see the text messages between them and he showed me. As I was reading the texts aloud, I felt sick to my stomach. The texts read that he thought about her weeks after meeting. Almost all the texts were paragraphs where they were flirty and witty, containing winky faces, a lot of winky faces. They complimented each other a lot, not about like physical attributes but more about their personalities. He also said she would fit well in his friend group, and they had this weird conversation about being shady and flirtatiously argued about whether it's a good thing or not. Still confused about that, and then finally the all-time weirdest thing was that she brought up New Year's, which is my birthday, and he told her what we did, and that's when he brought up how I'm uncomfortable and stuff and she replied along the lines of, I understand, it's hard to know someone's intentions, and then said that I could come the next time they hang out. LOL. He denies having any bad intentions, which I sort of believe, but when you have texts like that I don't think intent is what really matters, because he's sending out signals to the girl and that crossed the line in our relationship. A second part which is equally important is that this situation made me realize that we weren't like that anymore. I understand relationships get to be in that comfortable stage, which is completely fine and normal, but I don't think I have romantic feelings for him anymore. Additionally, you need trust in a relationship, and I was coming to the conclusion that I don't trust him, and maybe that is on me. This situation was kind of just the tipping point in our relationship. We both made mistakes, and I need to work on things within myself. We grew up together, and bonded and shared many great memories. He will always be an important part of my life, and there will always be love there. I don't want to de-emphasize that. I'm starting school again in less than a week and I'm going to make an effort to improve myself and grow. Thank you for all the kind words, advice, and just the fact that many of you took the time out of your day to be compassionate to another human. You all have really helped me, and I hope everyone continues to be kind, cause you never know how far it can touch someone. Stories number 15. I don't want my younger brother and his wife living with us if they have a baby. Aita, 27F, and my husband, 28M, recently bought our first home and are trying to start a family. I have also lost a pregnancy about 5 months ago. My youngest brother, BB, 23M, and his wife, A, 23F, have come across hard times. They have asked if they could rent our basement bedroom from us once their lease is up while they get on their feet. This would mean sharing common living areas and kitchen. I am okay with that. However, my other brother, OB, 25M, and his girlfriend have recently announced they are expecting. This has somehow put BB and his wife in a race to have the next baby. I.e. before me and my husband, BB, and A, continue to bring up the fact that they are trying to have a child at every dinner or family gathering since OB's announcement. I am incredibly frustrated with them as they are asking for a cheap place to stay because they have no money but also trying to bring a child into this world unprepared. I have expressed my opposition to them having a child before they have their financial situation in a better place and have also told them, if they get pregnant, I do not want them living in my house. At Easter dinner I told A, again, after she brought it up, that they are making a bad decision and that I wasn't going to financially support them in my home if she got pregnant. This made her cry. Now my family is telling me I have no business telling them how to live their lives and I should shut up and support them or get out of their lives. I also am having big feelings because I want the baby in my home to be my own. Aita for this? Am I horrible for feeling this way? What should I do? Edit, I see some confusion in the comments. I don't care who has a baby first. I'm excited for my brother who is expecting. However, not okay with baby brother using my home, that I bought for me to have babies in, to have their baby in. If they can't afford their own housing, they cannot afford a child. Also, my parents are in separate states from us and are not in financial positions to help. And my family says Eve always been a bossy bitch. I guess that may be true. But I said what I said and that's what I said. Update 4 to 23, there is lots to unpack. I sat and spoke with my husband today. He told me that after I went outside at Sunday dinner to get away from them, that he and A had talked. He told her that I was having a hard time deciding if I wanted them in our house. He also expressed the problems we've had with them disrespecting our tools and home when they come over to hang out. They built and painted some dressers for their apartment in my garage and made a huge mess. Paint all over. Our tools left outside in the yard. The paint sprayer was ruined because they put it in the fridge instead of cleaning it. Some yard tools they played with while I was trimming trees and roses were still in the bushes out back. I'm not sure what else was said as I wasn't there. Apparently this meant we were bullying them, and that's why BB came outside to tell me to apologize to A, and the argument started on Sunday that ended up involving the whole gaggle of goons. I usually communicate to my family through text because they work night shifts. So my husband and I wrote this up and I sent it to BB. I love you both dearly. I've spoken to my friend, you on Reddit. And she helped me understand that I was not approaching the situation the way thought I was. I know it's not my business when you have kids or what your finances are or if it's a good idea or not. It's only my business if you stay at our house or not. I am your sister, not your mother. I'm not telling you how to live your lives. I am telling you what I am willing to do. She also told me that the number one reason she sees families have huge falling outs is because they moved in together, temporarily, and it became involuntarily permanent. I respect y'all's decision to have a baby as it's y'all's choice. However, considering the circumstances, I don't feel that's a wise choice to let you move in anymore. Our agreement was for you and A to live here until you could get on your feet, but with the discussion of you actively trying to bring a child into the world, it would be best to find housing for yourself so you have the room if you're to be expecting at any time in the future. It wouldn't be fair to any of us to be crowded in my home with both families actively trying for a child. Husband, and I want to grow our own family. We need our own space and are concerned that if you have a child, you will never be able to afford your own place. I am also concerned that you can't control Demon Dog. She has been aggressive towards my small dog and stresses my big dog out. This is their home. My dogs are my priority. We cannot and will not sacrifice our family's future to support you. I'm sorry I can't help you this way. I know, my husband had mentioned to you my apprehension on you moving in. I'm sorry it took the argument on Sunday to help me come to a decision. I don't want any feelings of resentment. I will continue to help you find a cheaper car and will be a supportive big sister and help you however else I can. As of this update I have not heard back. I'll update again when I have news. Stories number 16. Aita for refusing to cover my tattoos for my boyfriend's family dinner. I'm 21F, a girl who has several tattoos, some big and quite visible. My boyfriend, 26M, met me like that and I hadn't had any problem with it. He invited me to go to dinner with his family and I accepted, but he casually mentioned, maybe you could wear something with sleeves. Just so we don't start any drama. I asked what he meant, and he said his grandparents are very old school and might not react well to my tattoos. He said he didn't want the night to be awkward. I told him I wasn't going to hide part of myself to make his family more comfortable. He said it's not about hiding, it's about respect. I told him respect goes both ways, and I shouldn't have to pretend to be someone I'm not. He got upset and said I was overreacting and making it a bigger deal than it is. I told him that I would go to the dinner but that I wouldn't cover my tattoos. But then he asked me to please not attend, that if I was only going to be difficult, it would be better not to be there. That really rubbed me the wrong way and made me feel confused, because I think maybe I did behave badly and I shouldn't have reacted so vehemently against the idea. I don't want to cause drama with his family, but I have had a hard time feeling comfortable in my skin and learning to deal with the stigma people have towards me because of my tattoos, and I don't want to go back and hide again, plus I don't think I would be honest with his family either if I show myself as I am not. So, Aita for refusing to cover my tattoos for the dinner. Stories number 17. I think I ruined my relationship after a threesome. My fiancé and I had his best friend over for dinner and drinks this past Saturday. We have all been friends since senior year of college, we all attended the same school. My fiancé and his best friend lived together for 2 years. We all hang out regularly, usually at our house or sometimes at his apartment. I know him and my fiancé talk regularly about normal guy stuff. My fiancé and I are getting married this summer and have been dating for 6 years. He's a great guy, he's loyal, makes a decent living, and we get along well. We have our problems, like any couple. Saturday night his friend came over and we were all having our normal fun drinking and playing games. We were all fairly drunk and making our usual jokes which tend to get a little sexual. When he got up to use the bathroom my fiancé asked me if I'd be interested in having a threesome that night with him involved. He said it was something they had discussed before, and it is also something my fiancé and I have talked about prior as well, just not with his best friend. I agreed, and we mentioned it to him when he got back. He agreed and later that night the three of us had sex. I cannot express enough that I love my fiancé. But since that night I cannot get his friend out of my head. Without going into detail, he was better at sex, bigger, made me finish, which is something I can struggle to do, and the two of them together were by far the greatest sexual experience of my life. Now, I have not stopped thinking about him, and the two of them together. My fiancé and I haven't had time to talk about it because of Easter and then work. But I am worried that I won't enjoy being with my fiancé sexually because of this experience. Thank you for listening. I wanted to get it out of my head before my therapist hears about it Thursday. Stories number 18. Aita for bringing a much older guy to Easter dinner after my dad left my mom for someone close to my age. I, 18F, moved out at 15 when I got into a boarding school abroad. When I was 12, my dad, 45M, cheated on my mom, 43F, with a woman, 26F, who was 20 at the time. They ended up divorcing, and he's been with her ever since. She's only a few years older than me, and for the past few years, she's been at every family holiday. She's clearly only after his money, but he's too stupid and stubborn to understand. This year, for Easter, I flew back home and asked a friend of mine, 38M, to come with me and pretend to be my boyfriend just for a few days at my home. After dinner, my dad pulled me aside and told me he felt uncomfortable with the situation. I told him I didn't do anything wrong and that, after him, love has no age. He told me that I ruined everyone's Easter by being selfish and bringing someone his age to dinner. I flew back to school, but now I'm getting messages from a few relatives saying I should apologize to my dad and break up with my boyfriend. I haven't responded. I don't think I'm in the wrong because he's made my life uncomfortable since the moment he cheated on my mom. Aita Reddit, seems like many think it's a lie lol, I would too, but I met my friend in a book club when I moved to the US, I'm from Europe, and he's been a great father figure to me tbh. When I had no friends there he would buy me dinner and actually spend time with me, and he's recently divorced, from his HS sweetheart, so he would have spent Easter alone anyway, therefore decided to take him with and show him around. For reference, I didn't say half of the bad things my dad did, or the whole story, it would have been too long, but trust me, cheating isn't the only thing he did. I know this is immature people. I know it's extremely immature of me, but I wanted to show him how it feels. Thanks a lot for the advice everyone, ill update for Christmas, lol. Stories number 19. AIO for asking my neighbor not to project her grief onto me every time she hears me laughing or playing with my kid outside. Not sure if anyone saw that post that blew up recently, someone talked about a grieving mom asking them not to call their dog their son. This isn't that, but, kinda similar energy. I live next to a woman who tragically lost her adult daughter a couple of years ago. Truly heartbreaking. At the time, my wife and I brought food, helped with yard work, and checked in often. But lately, any time we're outside playing with our 5-year-old daughter, kicking a ball around, laughing too loud, just being a normal family, we get the look. The long, cold stare from the porch. Last week, she actually said, "Must be nice to be so loud and happy." I was taken aback and just said something like, "I'm sorry if it's hard to hear, but we're not doing anything inappropriate." She shook her head and walked off. Now I feel like I'm being watched every time we step outside. I even heard from another neighbor that she thinks we're being disrespectful. I genuinely feel awful for her loss, but I don't think we should tiptoe through life to avoid triggering someone's grief forever. AIO for not adjusting how we live just to avoid upsetting her emotions. Stories number 20. My husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. I, 41F, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, 48M, whom we'll call Paul, works in finance. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids, whom we'll call Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son, Eric, has a girlfriend, 18F, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered as family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses sucking his cock. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because, over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has a porn addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy LOLing. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month, I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, shock I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely fucked up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any fucking sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice from those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. Further information from OOP. To not have my initial post be long-winded because I didn't think I needed to get into the minutiae of this, I didn't bother going into those details. How I inadvertently saw it was this: he was on his phone. He did not have iMessage open currently on the screen, but the application was still open. You know how on the iPhone when you swipe up and it shows all of the applications that are open and you can close them. When he was closing out the applications, something he does compulsively, I noticed it. It's not like he was some kind of idiotic buffoon having iMessage open for all to see. I saw he forgot he had the application running when he swiped up from a completely different app. Also, I did say in my post that I went back to his phone to actually solidify my suspicion on a different day. So you are incorrect in asserting that I'm now magically changing my story. I am being consistent. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, if she's freshly 18, isn't this illegal? There's no way they weren't doing anything illegal before she turned into an adult. Also, even if so, the age gap is over 3 decades, our husband is suspect ASF, police immediately. Reply, she's been 18 for 5 months now. I haven't been able to gauge when their affair started, I'm trying my hardest to figure that out. He deletes his texts every couple of weeks it seems like, so I haven't been able to pinpoint when this whole thing started. Additional information from OOP. Reply, thank you everyone for overwhelming support. I'm sorry if I haven't responded to your private messages, I'll get to it when I can. Dealing with a lot right now and taking a lot of steps that need to be taken. I'm trying to be smart and strategic with this truly surreal and terrible situation I'm in. I want to be clear that not telling my son about this was never something I was considering. I didn't mean to make it seem that way. I was just saying I'm intensely dreading it, but obviously it needs to be addressed. It's one part of the many steps of my overall plan. I'm currently playing dumb and collecting as much evidence as I can so I can be prepared for anything and everything. I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to make sure I don't put myself in any potential harm's way. I'll post a more thorough update soon when I can. But please know, you've all touched my heart so much and made me feel less alone. I am divorcing my husband because he cheated on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend, Reddit March 22, 2024, 5 days later. I'm using pseudonyms for confidentiality. I shared a situation a few days ago on another subreddit involving my 41F husband, Paul, 48M, our children, Eric, 18M, and Mary, 15F. I discovered that Paul was having an affair with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend, Amy. My son has been dating her since they were freshmen in high school. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog-type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk, it was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed he talks with her for hours pretty consistently. He uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18 to 22 or so. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on sex chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French-maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's cloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty, he had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, and that none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. Mary is recollecting moments and times she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself, and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, how is your son holding up? What has developed between him and Amy? Reply, he hasn't spoken to Amy yet since finding out the news, and I'm not sure if he ever will again. Commenter 2, have you confirmed if the thong you found was Amy's? The situation is fucked up. Reply, I confirmed that it wasn't my daughter's. She said it wasn't hers. And I know it wasn't mine. So who else's could it be? Commenter 3, wait. Are you saying that they fucked in the master bedroom? Commenter 4, don't cheaters always use their married bed? Reply, yes, I believe he did. OOP adds in the comments. Reply, both me and my son are going to get tested and checked out as well. There's no telling how many different women he's been sleeping around with. As for Amy, her mom has been in contact with me, and Amy has been threatening to run away with him because they are in love. Update 2. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. it gives me comfort and means so much to me. I've received many comments and messages accusing me of faking this story, which oddly also provides comfort because all of this feels unreal even to me. It validates my own feelings that there are people out there who can't even fathom this being true. I wish it were fake. I've been focusing on and worrying about how others are feeling over this, somewhat ignoring my own feelings which I'm trying to change. I range from anger to numbness like a light switch. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We're very careful, and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I am refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and deadbolt locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far that we're both clean based on the immediate rapid tests, but in the coming days, we'll know for certain when the lab results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now, he seems a bit shell-shocked, and I am concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. He calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think he deep down knows that if investigated thoroughly, he would be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about the Zoom call with him, and the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary for me to make an appointment with a therapist as well, but she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently, they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the color of her yoga pants. At the time, no issue was brought up about it, but in light of everything that has been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking about if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason why I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all and has been constantly trying to reach Paul because, again, she believes that they are in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that and believes I took away his devices and am very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain and still sees Paul through rose-colored glasses. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, and she refuses to believe it, saying I photoshopped it. According to her mom, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man, and that I'm jealous because she takes better care of him than I do. It's in line with some of the conversations I screenshot, where a lot of what Paul says is him complaining about things I don't do for him sexually. Right now, she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. Ugh, he's honestly a slimeball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment, maybe eventually though. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. Reading all the previous posts, I honestly get the vibe that your husband wasn't a very good one to begin with. Someday, when you're ready, you're going to find someone who thinks you're glorious as you age. Your son is also going to be okay. He's gotten a lesson on exactly how men shouldn't behave. A painful one, but in time, he's going to realize that Amy was groomed and abused. It sounds like she was vulnerable, and your ex took advantage of a child who was in a bad situation. Hopefully once Amy has had some time to process just how messed up this was, she'll tell the police the whole story. I fully believe something was happening before she turned 18. Reply, I believe stuff happened before she was 18 too. Commenter 2, do you think they kept that relationship secret for most of Eric and Amy's relationship? What a disgusting father and pig if that is truth. Reply, I'm not sure when things got actually physical or romantic, but I do think his grooming started as soon as she came into the picture when Eric started dating her freshman year. This mentor and a friend that Amy alluded to had to start right away, and the way she's acting now, being so indebted and believing every single thing he says, shows that his effect on her had to be over a long period of time. She only turned 18 like 5 months ago. Her behavior and infatuation for him seems so strong that it couldn't possibly be only 5 months of them being together. Commenter 3, if they are consenting adults then there is nothing to report. This is a personal problem that needs to be dealt with by attorneys and the people involved. People are way too jumpy to snap to the police to fix their problems anymore. OP is handling this the correct way. If any legal issues come into play then her attorney will do the right thing. Reply, the only thing we can really hang our hat on is the possibility of Amy having an epiphany of the reality of her situation and she opens up candidly about when it began. But because she's 18 currently and has no interest in saying or doing anything that could potentially put Paul in legal trouble, nothing really can be done. Unless they find out about other girls that I have no idea about yet. Update 3. The support, again, has been overwhelming, and I'm very grateful. Sadly, I've received a lot of negative accusatory harassing private messages from people here who think I'm faking this story. Someone made a comment on some post somewhere, claiming that my story has been debunked, and people believe that person. I've seen an uptick in negative messages accusing me of making this up for money. I'm not asking for money at all. Coming here was completely rooted in emotional desperation, and I didn't expect anyone to get invested in my story this way. But again, I'm not looking for anything out of this. I have no reason to lie, I'm not gaining anything from this. If you don't believe me, that's fine, I don't care, but the only thing I ask is to not cross the line and start sending me private messages that are mean-spirited or accusatory. The only reason I'm continuing to post is because of those of you who've sent me love here, and the support really lifted my spirits. As for the divorce, it's very much underway. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it all because it's ongoing, and I want to make sure everything is going to go smoothly. I got temporary custody of Mary. Paul also has to pay temporary child support. There's a protective order, Paul can't contact us or come near us. Right now, we're just focusing on getting through this legal mess. Again, not getting into specifics because I don't want to mess anything up, but what I'll say is I'm very confident, divorce aside, that there's overwhelming evidence against Paul that will get him in serious trouble and it will impact him for the rest of his life. I'm sure eventually I can share more about that. I know a lot of people are concerned about his predatory ways, and I just wanted to convey this, even though I have to be vague right now. Justice will come. All of your concern about how my kids are doing psychologically means a lot to me. Eric has been to therapy twice over the last 2 weeks. I know some people thought I was dismissive of him and acting like he's doing okay. I very much know that he's hurting internally, and we're doing everything we can to make sure he knows he is supported and loved. My brother has been amazing in spending time with Eric and Mary, and both of them have confided in him about a lot. My brother has a very healthy marriage, and both he and his wife have really stepped up to the plate for all of us. Mary has not seen a therapist yet, but she promises that she will be open to seeing one soon. Her anger has mostly turned into sadness, I noticed, and I hope I can get her to see a therapist soon. Her friends have played a key role in this whole thing, and that's something that Mary has been grappling with as well. I know a lot of people are invested in the well-being of Amy as well. There were a lot of questions about whether Eric and Amy would still see each other at school. It sounded like they go to the same school, but they do not. Eric and Amy went to the same junior high school and knew each other even then, but Amy ended up going to an all-girls Catholic high school while Eric, and Mary too, stayed in the public school system. We all lived in the same town, and over the summer heading into freshman year is when they were getting to know each other and when they started dating. There's only so much I could do with the Amy situation, but again, I do believe things will turn around soon with that, given what I know about Paul and what's to come. I can only pray that Amy can get help and guidance when more shit hits the fan. I'm doing everything I can with my own kids and my own mental health, and Amy's mom knows she has my support, and that's all I could really provide. Top comments. Commenter 1. TBH, the only way that Amy will see how messed up Paul is when he eventually sleeps with someone else or he accuses her of seducing him. Even if he ends as a sex offender, if that's enough to convince her that he's a creep and dangerous. Now I'm curious to what Paul's intentions are. He ghosted her and now all of a sudden they're meeting up again. Worst case scenario, he's gonna have her falsely testify, which I don't think will take much convincing Amy. Honestly, you and Amy's mom did what you could. The best thing Amy's mom could do is sit and wait, but don't kick her out. Let her know she'll be there for Amy and she'll still have a roof over her head. And pray she snaps out of it soon instead of years later when she has burned bridges and wasted her life on a man who took advantage and ruined everyone else's lives. Commenter 2, take care of yourself and please don't stress about these internet trolls. They are mean, heartless, soulless humans that have nothing better to do in life than tear people down that are already hurting. Though I'm also a stranger, your story moved me and I'm so sad that you have to go through this. Please take care of yourself too. Sounds like both kids are doing okay now, but you need to be well too. Update 4. My predatory ex-husband fled to Cambodia, my kids and I are still here and going to therapy, April 14, 2025. I'm sorry it's been so long since my last update. I didn't expect to continue to have this overwhelming amount of support from people for this long, thank you so much. I've gotten so many messages on here that I haven't been able to respond to. So I wanted to share an update with how everything is on my end and my kids' end. So quick recap for those who might not remember what my story is. My husband, Paul, cheated on me with our son, Eric's 18-year-old girlfriend, Amy. When they were caught, he unraveled at the seams. It was clear that he groomed her for years. He had saved dozens of photos of her from Instagram, kept a secret folder of BDSM porn on his computer, and I eventually discovered screenshots and chat logs between them that were beyond disturbing, graphic messages, hours-long phone calls, even them mocking me behind my back. When I confronted him over Zoom, he melted down, sweating, stuttering, yelling the word context over and over again. It was a level of panic I've never seen in my life. I filed for divorce. I took our kids, Eric, and our daughter, Mary, and we left. We stayed at my brother's house. I met with Amy's mother, who confiscated her phone and confirmed everything I'd suspected. Amy told her they were in love. She refused therapy, pushed everyone away, and insisted I was jealous and trying to ruin their relationship. Paul ignored Amy for a while, but eventually they started seeing each other again. She was 18 and legally couldn't be stopped. Meanwhile, I worked with a lawyer. I filed for full custody, and we began building a case. Paul kept trying to contact me directly, but I refused to speak to him. We moved forward with the divorce, even as more disturbing things came to light, his behavior with Mary's friends, the comments, the hovering, the pattern. It was all there, in hindsight. Mary and Eric were both traumatized and they are still in therapy a year later about it. The amount of scorched earth Paul caused is mind-boggling to me. I'm still rattled by it and I don't think I will ever recover, to be honest. Paul and Amy dated for several months after we started the divorce proceedings. I tried my hardest to keep in touch with Amy's mom to see if there was anything we can do for her to realize Paul's predatory behavior and maybe speak out against him to see if he slept with her or did anything to her when she was younger, but she refused to talk about anything. She was in love still. Just a few weeks before the divorce was supposed to finalize, Paul disappeared. He drained what was left of our shared accounts, what I hadn't already locked down, and left. We found out later that he bought a one-way ticket to Phnom Penh, Cambodia. I had no idea. I got a notification from the financial tracking alert my lawyer set up. That was it. We were close to finalizing everything. I had full custody of Mary. He wasn't contesting anything. Then he stopped replying. Didn't show up to court. Never filed anything. Nothing. It was like he just dissolved. Amy, according to her mother, was devastated and she's completely gone mentally right now. She's basically nomadic, sleeping at friends' homes around the area. Refusing to come home. My lawyer pushed for a default judgment, and the court granted it. The divorce is technically finalized now. I have custody. He's in violation of the support order, but none of it matters. He's gone. Cambodia has no extradition treaty. No child support enforcement. Nothing. There's no way to make him come back. No way to make him pay anything. We have no actual clue where he is in Cambodia. One thing that chills me to my core is how notorious Cambodia is when it comes to trafficking minors. Eric's in college. He keeps his distance from everything to do with Paul. He doesn't say much, but he's steady. I know it still hurts. He just doesn't show it. Mary's quiet about it too. She still brings up little things sometimes, things she remembers now in a different light. She asked me the other night if I thought Paul would come back. I didn't answer. I don't think she really wanted me to. I don't know what Paul's doing in Cambodia. I don't know who he's talking to, or what his life looks like now. I've had a few people tell me to report him to the FBI or try to push for an international investigation. I've made the calls. I've filed what I could. But there's only so much they can do when someone hasn't technically committed a crime that's provable in the US. I don't believe he left the country just to avoid alimony, I think he's a predator and I think he's a criminal. That's all for now. I don't have much else to give. I'm still here. My kids are still here. And we're trying. Thanks to everyone for their concern and care. It really warms me, it means so much to me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, thank you for this update. I think about you and your kids frequently. You alluded to him being in legal trouble in your prior posts. Is this why he fled? Reply, just my gut feeling that he fled because I think he's been with minors. Commenter 2, from what I've learned studying criminology, there's often a pattern to behaviors of people like your ex. I really think he will be back and that he will get caught. Maybe him fleeing is a blessing in disguise, because that puts an actual physical barrier between your family and him. As a mom, woman, well, hopefully decent human being, I would like to thank you for doing the best you could to protect everyone. It must have hurt so much. It's now time for you. For your healing. I wish you all the best and all the happiness you can have. Edit, may I just quickly add something regarding Amy, maybe you need to hear it. You have done everything you could. There's a moment in horrible situations like this when we just need to step back and allow people involved make their own decisions. And let ourselves have some breathing space from everyone's feelings. It often sucks, because we want to just grab them and shake them by their shoulders until they click into sanity, but your body needs to recover, too. Your nervous system needs to recover. Eat well and sleep plenty. I really hope that there's no guilt involved on your part, because if her life is awful from this point on, it's your ex's fault. And I hope that you know it. Commenter 3, give as much information as you possibly can to Interpol about this monster. I'm so happy you and your kids are hanging in there. I think about you often. Stories number 21. Aita for refusing to become my stepsister's guardian when my stepdad and mom can't when I already agreed to being my brothers. My brother, 14, and stepsister, 12, both require full-time care because of their autism. Both are non-verbal. My brother has the ability to do some stuff for himself but he can't ever care for himself and one day he'll need to be placed in a proper facility that can provide care for him. I, 18M, always knew it would fall on me to take over guardianship someday and to make sure he's in a good place and cared for well and to visit. My younger sister, 13, has always promised to help me but neither mom or I want it to fall on her. My dad died when my brother and sister were really young so I have always tried to help where I can. When I was 13 my mom met my stepdad. He had 2 daughters and his oldest had autism too. She's a lot like my brother but has not got the skills my brother has and she requires a little more care than my brother. There was a difficulty from the start where my stepdad hated seeing me help with my brother and care for him so well but I never offered to do the same for my stepsister. He would ask and I'd usually say up front I couldn't go from helping with my brother to my stepsister because I needed to focus on school and I needed downtime. He asked me to choose my stepsister instead of my brother at times and I told him I couldn't do that. He told me his younger daughter, 9, is too young to help out and I told him he'd need to figure out an alternative. At some point he and my mom talked about what would happen to my brother when mom's too sick or dies and they somehow came up with the idea that because I'd take guardianship of my brother that I'd do the same for my stepsister. I only found out about this when my stepdad mentioned the fact I need to get to know my stepsister better so I can know how to advocate for her better. Because it wouldn't be fair for my brother to get better care because I know him and what he needs. That's when I was like WTH are you talking about and then he brought my mom in and they said they expected me to do it for both. Mom asked me could I honestly just make sure my brother's okay. I told her yeah because he's my brother and it's a big responsibility that will require me to keep watch over everything and to make sure he's being treated well and staying healthy and will mean being with him when he gets sick and stuff. My stepdad said I'm perfectly capable of doing it for both when I won't be taking care of them day to day and that it was disgusting that I'd let his daughter rot. I told him I won't let his daughter rot. That if he refuses to find someone else that'll be on him. They're really pissy about it so now I'm wondering AITA. Stories number 22. To full for feeding my children first even if I am very hungry. I always feed my kids first, no matter how starving I am. Doesn't matter if I've been running around all day, skipping meals, dealing with a teething baby and a toddler meltdown, I'll stand there and make sure their plates are full before I even think about mine. But yesterday pushed me over the edge. I made dinner, gave them their food, and sat down to eat after they were already halfway done. Within 5 minutes, they were fighting over who got the bigger piece of chicken and somehow spilled juice all over my plate. Just fully soaked it. Like, I blinked and it was a mess. I got up to clean it, came back, and my oldest was literally eating off my plate because, you weren't eating it anyway. I just sat there in silence. I was so hungry I could have cried, but I ended up making toast and eating it cold while standing at the sink. It hit me then how often I put myself last and how used to it I've gotten. I know I'm the adult, and yeah, they come first most days, but damn. I broke a little last night over that soggy-ass dinner. TLDR, make sure to eat together and discipline your children. Stories number 23. Men, at what age did you start dating with the intention to marry? I am 26F and noticed that a lot more of my female friends are already anxious about finding the one, maybe partly due to the genetic clock of having children etc., but also it seems to be something my female friends have always had in mind as a goal even when casually dating. It doesn't seem like this is as front of mind for my male friends, so I'm wondering, do guys just not think about it until you're 30 and realize you want a wife? Is it a, let me establish myself and my career and then I'll date once I am stable and can provide, type vibe? A guy I recently dated, 26M, was the first person to ask me a lot of questions about having kids and family etc. He was the first person I dated who seemed like he might be seriously thinking long-term, but ultimately his career is still priority right now. Are guys just not worried about when they get married or have kids? Or do they just realize one day they might want a wife? Just generally curious to hear thoughts. Stories number 24. Aita for refusing to try on the wedding dress my mom bought me without asking. I, 28F, recently got engaged and was excited to pick out my wedding dress, something I've always looked forward to doing myself. My mom, 56F, took it upon herself to buy a wedding dress for me. She never asked me to go shopping together or send me ideas. She literally went out, bought a dress she liked, and then put it in my closet without saying anything. I just found it one day while getting something else, no conversation, no heads up, just a dress hanging there. It's nothing like what I would have chosen for myself. It's super traditional, big, poofy, very Princess Bride, and just, not me. She never asked what I liked, what styles I was thinking about, or if I even wanted help. I feel hurt that she didn't involve me at all. Now she's upset I haven't tried it on and says I'm being ungrateful. Family is saying I should just try it on to make her happy, but it feels like she made a big decision about my wedding without me. She let my two older sisters have their wedding dress moments and she didn't even bother to ask me what I wanted. Aita for refusing to try it on. Post update. I see a lot of comments about me changing my lock, but I wanted to clarify that I found this wedding dress in my childhood closet in my parents' house. They kept all our rooms the same, so sometimes I store clothes that don't fit me in there. That is when I found the wedding dress my mom intended for me. For everyone asking about the cost, I actually don't know how much the dress cost. I didn't ask, and honestly, I didn't want to know. The dress isn't my style at all, and I'd probably be horrified to find out how much was spent on something I had no say in and don't even like. Based on how my mom usually shops, I wouldn't be surprised if it was over $500 to $1,000, but again, this whole situation isn't really about the price tag. It's about not being included in such a personal decision and feeling like my preferences didn't matter. Stories number 25. I slept with my husband. I made a really awful choice, and I'm about to lose the best thing that has ever happened to me. My husband and I separated several years ago. We decided to stay legally married for his permanent residency. The breakup wasn't too ugly, we still loved each other enough to support each other in life, we just resented each other too much to be in each other's lives. We now live in different cities and have only been in contact for legal matters. I am now in a relationship that's taught me what it actually feels like to be deeply loved and cherished. My boyfriend is everything I needed and never had in my marriage. But lately we've had awful fights, and I've been questioning whether to continue fighting for us or let go before we end the same, with nothing but exhaustion and resentment. Last week, I visited family in the city where my husband now lives. We decided to meet up to handle some paperwork and catch up. It was really weird at first, but it turned out very light, innocent and oddly healing. We were able to laugh about the past. I was genuinely happy to see how good he's been doing, how much he's changed, and that he's also got someone new to love. We met a couple more times during the week. We got really drunk one night and started to reminisce. We both cried a lot. There were heartfelt yet long overdue apologies exchanged, and a long hug that turned into something else. We hooked up. It was sudden, emotional and surreal, I still can't fully process it. It felt good. Which is the hardest part to admit. I wish I wouldn't have done it. I hate that I broke my boyfriend's trust. But I can honestly say that I regret it, or that it hasn't been living in my head ever since. I keep having to pull my mind away from fantasies of getting back together with my husband, of the life we almost had, of the child we once planned for. And I can't stop hearing him whisper, while inside me, that he's missed me and wanted this for years. I am deeply ashamed and spiraling like I never have before. I genuinely thought those feelings died 7 years ago. I distinctly remember how it felt to fall out of romantic love with him and to lose all sexual attraction. I was happy when we separated. I hadn't thought longingly of him, or fantasized about him in years, but all those old feelings were there, right where we left them, untouched. It's like a wound I thought had healed was just rebandaged, still fresh and bleeding underneath. I never in a million years expected to hear him apologize for certain things that happened in our marriage. I didn't even know I wanted those acknowledgements so badly. On my last day in town, I told him that after we finalize the divorce and fully cut legal ties, I want us to finally be completely out of each other's lives. No contact. Because healing clearly never finished. And this limbo we've been in is keeping old wounds fresh. I've been back home for a few days now, in bed, paralyzed with all these conflicting feelings within me, deep guilt and shame but also nostalgia, reassurance and closure. And my heart is breaking for my husband all over again, somehow, while bracing for the heartbreak I will soon have for my boyfriend. Because despite it all, I still love my boyfriend deeply. He's the best partner I've ever had, and probably ever will have had. I'm going to tell him everything this weekend, and I haven't stopped crying, knowing what's ahead of us. He deserves to know the truth and I don't expect forgiveness. I know I'll probably get torn apart here. If you've got anger, I understand. If you've got perspective, I'm open to that too. Thanks for reading either way. Stories number 26. Aita for blocking my MIL after she redecorated my house while I was on vacation. Long post. This occurred while I was 7 months pregnant, October 2024, but at the time of writing I have a happy and healthy baby *. Disclaimer edit. If you have had dealings with someone who is a narcissist, might want to skip this one. Edit. Hey guys. Wow. So honestly. Yeah, I was looking for a little validation when writing this. I've had people tell me it's a huge deal and others thinking I overreacted, so I wanted to see what strangers on the internet thought. And wow, was not expecting so many strong opinions. However, I did not anticipate it to be so triggering for many and I apologize. For everyone who has had a similar situation, I am so sorry you went through that. Having someone you trust take their relationship with you and stomp it into the ground is heartbreaking. I hope you find healing and closure. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Red Heart. I, 27F, have been married to my husband, Mike, for 6 years. We have a daughter, 4F, and I am pregnant with our second. This pregnancy has been absolutely brutal compared to my first. I am nauseous all the time and have to take meds just to keep what little I can eat down. It has taken a toll on my body and I struggle with just basic housework, stay-at-home mom, not to mention keeping up with a 4-year-old. Mike and I decided to take a mini getaway to just rest and take some time for ourselves before baby comes. Mike's mother, Anne, approached him and asked if she could do some cleaning for us while we were gone, like vacuum and do the dishes. And told Mike not to tell me so it would be a surprise, but he's not stupid and asked me if it would be okay. I was hesitant, but the idea of coming home to a cleaned house sounded so nice, and I said yes. Before we get into it, here's some info on Anne, and wasn't too bad as far as MILs go. Probably the worst thing she would do is drop by unannounced and come in without knocking. She would always comment on changes I should make to my house or ways I could decorate, but I would always brush it off, saying I was happy with how it was. She would cancel at the last minute when we had plans for her to babysit, small things like that. And is one of those people who is always the victim in a situation, and complains about her life job every chance she gets. Back to the story. Mike made his mother promise not to do anything except basic cleaning before he gave her a key to our house, she promised. We dropped off daughter with my parents and went on our 3-day trip that was about 2 hours from where we lived. I tried to enjoy the trip but it was hard with not feeling well, and I had this crazy strong feeling of wanting to go home. We ended up checking out a day early because my husband felt the same. Mike texted Anne to let her know we were on the way back so she wouldn't be there when we got in. Surprise surprise, she was there when we pulled into our neighborhood. Mike and I had been told by a neighbor that she was there the day before as well and I got such a sinking feeling. It doesn't take 2 days to vacuum. I told Mike to go park down the street as I didn't want to confront her and he texted her and told her to leave. She did. As we are circling back the first thing I notice is our 2 trash cans out by the road. They were empty when we left so there was no reason for them to be taken out. The next is sitting in the driveway is my small love seat with flowers on it. WTF. Why is my effing couch outside like it's about to be hauled off? That's when I started to lose it. I was trying to hold it together but started having a full-blown panic attack. I was crying and couldn't get a breathe. After I was calm enough that Mike felt safe to leave me, he went into the house to see the damage. I could not bring myself to go in. I sat outside on my little flower couch and called my mom and sobbed. Mike came back out and just said, "It's bad." I immediately blocked MIL. I felt numb. I went and sat at my best friend's house while Mike started fixing the worst of it. The damage, where do I even start? And had touched everything. Furniture had been moved, my pictures art taken down and replaced with stuff she had bought, fall decor had thrown up on everything. Pretty sure she bought out our local dollar store. And had gotten into closets and rearranged all my stuff. There were new sheets on my bed and nails and command hooks everywhere, bathrooms, bedrooms, living room, kitchen. It was insane. She had started putting up wallpaper in the living room. There was a can of paint in the bathroom, thank God we came back a day early. She was going to paint my daughter's pink flower bathroom gray. There were baskets and piles of laundry all over the floor. I had put away everything before I left, after Mike had gotten the worst and shocking changes somewhat fixed, taking down the wallpaper and moving furniture back etc. I came back over with my friend. I just absorbed it and started throwing stuff in trash bags. Everything that was not mine. After 4 hours the three of us had most everything taken down and put back how it was supposed to be. There were 10 stuffed full 13-gallon trash bags of crap. I felt so violated. How could the 3.5 years of work I had put into our home be erased in 2 days? I spent the next several hours picking up the mess she had left. Oh, and had she actually done any cleaning? Not a chance. She took what was mine and made it hers. It wasn't until the next day when I started to find things missing. The bitch had actually thrown away my nice rugs and replaced them with cheap dollar store crap. No hate on the dollar store, but they were an ugly brown, my daughter's toys, sentimental items, a handmade children's rocker from my great-grandfather. She had absolutely no intention of replacing anything, she was helping me by throwing out stuff that wasn't pretty or looked old or broken. To know she had gone through my home and passed judgment on things she didn't feel was worthy to be displayed or even kept. That she took my things and hauled them down to the road for the trash truck to take. It broke something inside me. When Mike went to confront his mother, she said she was sorry for upsetting me, but still to this day does not see anything wrong with what she did. She was actually upset with me for immediately taking everything down and not even giving it a chance. Our relationship is dead to me, but she keeps harassing my husband wanting to know when things will go back to normal. I will never trust her again. It took me months to fix everything like the closets and cabinets. Honestly, it was kind of impressive how much she did in 2 days. She stayed the night at our house and probably didn't sleep. I kept my daughter from her insanity for 3 months, but at my husband's request, have let her go over there for short visits. He wants her to know his parents and I respect that, but I don't feel comfortable with it. I did not invite her to my baby shower and other families supported this decision. Did I overreact and make too big a deal out of this? Is it even a big deal? Should I just brush it under the rug and pretend it never happened like in once? If you made it this far, thank you very much for reading my story. I started listening to the podcast about a month ago and it gave me the push I needed to put it all out there. Sorry it was so long, but there was just so much. I know I left things out. Will do my best to respond to comments. I would genuinely appreciate feedback on this situation. Thank you all again. I hope getting it out will help me not lay in bed and think about it at night. Val, update to answer some questions. Wow, there's a lot, so it may be tomorrow before I get to all of them. Thank you guys so much for the support. 1. Yes, we got the key back ASAP. 2. The reason I didn't take legal action or just straight retaliation, believe me I thought about it, was due to a miscarriage scare that same night. After the panic attack and just the stress and work of cleaning up I started cramping and couldn't remember the last time I had felt a kick. I went to lay down and called my doctor who said as long as I don't start bleeding or go for more than an hour without feeling movement just to rest and try not to be stressed, easier said than done. It took me a week to feel safe that baby was okay. She was born healthy. 3. The trash had already ran so everything that was thrown out was gone forever. 4. I have a really good husband who had a hard time knowing how to navigate this situation because he spent his whole life in her narcissistic bubble. Since being married and being around my family and seeing what real love looks like, he has slowly been coming to terms with his childhood trauma. He stood up for me and stood by me even though he had a hard time understanding the situation. 5. What contact she does have with our daughter is handled by husband, so I have no contact with MIL. He has a good relationship with his dad and wants our kids to know him. 6. Thank you for your honest and strongly opinionated Spitfire comments. I knew I wasn't crazy for wanting to burn her house down. 7. She did send a replacement chair and 2 of the big toys after my mom went and talked to her. MIL did tell me sorry, but husband says she is sorry for the consequences, not what she actually did. She does not understand why what she did was wrong. Added she's sorry that I got upset. Edit. Holiday and birthday get-togethers are like a tradition with husband's parents, dad's side. The grandparents are on our side but have been excusing MIL behavior for 30+ years to keep a relationship with their son. Grandma used to keep a folder on her computer titled, En's Lies, which I kinda thought was awesome. Mil is crazy, and I know that for sure now and can keep a very close eye on her. But I love the rest of his family and want to still see and be around them. No, I will not be divorcing my husband, he is amazing to me and the kids. Stories number 27. Aita for wanting to attend my sister's wedding without my wife. I, 34M, have an elder sister, 37F, who's a divorcee with one child. My family is pretty close, my dad always invite all of us to the house at the end of every 2 months, that's just his own way of bonding his children, he says he feels so much joy when he sees us all together. My sister has always been part of these gatherings. Now the issue is between my sister and my wife, 32F. Whenever they have even a small disagreement, my wife resorts to saying really hurtful things to my sister. The one she always uses is something like, "You're not ashamed of yourself. At your age, no husband, single mother." I've told my wife multiple times that this is completely out of line and unnecessary, and there are better ways to express herself if there's a problem. But she keeps doing it. Now, the twist, my sister is getting married soon to a genuinely great guy who's also wealthy. She invited everyone in the family to the wedding except my wife. She was very clear about it too, she said my wife has consistently made her feel like less than because of her past, and she doesn't want her at her wedding. When we got home, my wife flipped. She said it's improper for my sister to invite me without inviting her, and that since she's not invited, I shouldn't go either. I told her flat out that she brought this on herself and that I am going to my sister's wedding. It's her big day and she deserves happiness without drama. Since then, my wife has been cold and distant, saying I'm choosing my family over her and that I don't care about her feelings. Aita for still planning to attend my sister's wedding even though my wife wasn't invited. Stories number 28. Aita for wanting to divorce my husband after he left our newborn and toddler with our teenage daughter while he went out with another woman. I feel like I need some outside perspective on a really tough situation. My husband and I have been married for 19 years, and we have 3 kids together, a 13-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. Our journey to parenthood wasn't easy, we faced a lot of fertility struggles, and my husband has been my rock through it all. That's why this situation has hit me so hard. Recently, I started thinking about divorce after I realized my husband had left our young children alone at home while he went out on what appears to be a date with another woman. It's been difficult for me to process everything, and I'm still unsure if I'm overreacting. His parents seem to think it was just a mild mistake, but I honestly find that hard to swallow. A couple of days ago, I decided to take a much-needed me day. I told my husband how I felt, and he agreed I could go out for a bit. I went out with my mom and sister for lunch, a mini shopping spree, and we even got our nails done. It was lovely to have some time to unwind. I left the house around 1 p.m., planning to be back around 6 p.m. My husband was supposed to be at home with the kids since we didn't have anyone to babysit on short notice. While I was out, I received notifications from our Ring camera. Around 5:50 p.m., I saw something was happening at the front door. I called my husband, who assured me everything was fine and that he was just picking up pizza. I thought nothing of it, knowing he was with the kids. Fast forward to around 6 p.m. when I got another notification that he was back home. Due to the long wait at the nail salon and bad traffic, I didn't arrive home until about 8 p.m. When I got inside, I immediately noticed something was off. My husband's car was gone. I walked into the house to find my toddler playing with spit, and my newborn was crying uncontrollably. My teenage daughter was in tears because she couldn't calm the baby down. I quickly took the baby, changed her, fed her, and got her to bed, checking in with my daughter to see what happened. She told me she didn't know where her dad was but that he had told her to watch the kids because he had something important to do. I comforted her and reassured her that it was a big task for her to handle alone. I felt awful she had been put in that situation. My husband finally came home around 10 p.m., looking somewhat drunk. When I asked where he had been, he casually claimed he was with his wife and having a good time. It felt like a slap in the face. He took off his pants and acted as if everything was normal, completely dismissing what had just happened. The next day, when I confronted him about his absence, he lied and said he fell asleep at 7:35 p.m. I was furious and called him out for being dishonest, insisting I knew he had been out with another woman. I reached out to my mother-in-law and my own mom for advice, trying to gain some perspective. My MIL minimized it, saying it was a common mistake for men and that I needed to move on for the kids' sake. You know, they need their father at home. I've been doing a lot of soul-searching since that day. Part of me wants to fight for our marriage, to believe we can work through this rough patch. However, another part of me is devastated and feels that I deserve better. I think about filing for divorce, seeking child support, and pursuing full custody of the kids so I can provide them with a stable environment. So here I am, wondering if I'm being the asshole for even considering divorce. Am I overreacting? Should I be more forgiving because of our history? Or am I justified in wanting to leave this relationship for the happiness and safety of myself and my children? Aita. This happened on April 1st, 25. Update, Aita for wanting to divorce my husband after he left our newborn and toddler with our teenage daughter while he went out with another woman. A lot has gone down, and I appreciate all the advice, but for those who think it was fake, that's just your opinion. My husband and I went back and forth for a couple more days after my last post. I finally got him to watch the video, and it proved he was the one lying while saying I was. He kept watching it and coming up with excuse after excuse. I told him that if our marriage fell apart, it would be because of his behavior that night. I asked him a few things. 1. Why did he leave our daughter with the babies? 2. What was he doing? 3. Who was this so-called second wife? All he could say was that I was being too dramatic and that I was not trusting him too much. I shot back, you broke my trust when you left the babies alone with our kid. I told him he had one chance to come clean, and if he didn't, we'd have to talk about divorce, child support, and all that. Still, he stood firm, saying, I didn't do anything. I was so frustrated. I asked him why he couldn't just be honest. His answer. Why do you think I was cheating? That's not trusting me. I reminded him that he had admitted to being with his wife right in front of me. He said, I was drunk. I replied that he shouldn't have gone out and gotten drunk without a way to get home safely while our kids were at home without an adult. He apologized, but that didn't change what he did. I told him his actions messed up our daughter's trust in him, hurt our marriage, and affected our parenting. He just kept pushing his own narrative about that night. On April 17th, he told me I was overreacting and that we should keep it together for the kids. I reminded him that he lied to me, called me a liar, put our kids in danger, and wrecked our marriage. Then he snapped and got mad, claiming there was a reason for everything but wouldn't tell me anything. On April 19th, he came clean and admitted he's been seeing another woman, calling her his second wife. He told me that if I couldn't accept it, then it didn't matter to save a marriage that was already falling apart, with only me trying to hold it together. I shot back that since he was the one ruining our marriage and wrecking our lives with this nonsense, then fine, let it be. I told him he'd be the reason our kids wouldn't have a dad in the house because of his selfish, ignorant, and irresponsible behavior. He lied to our daughter about her phone, put our kids in a tough spot, lied to me, messed up our marriage, and then made me look like the one who's dishonest. Stories number 29. It took almost 25 years. Last night, as I was trying, and failing, to sleep, I admitted something to myself that I haven't been able to before. I got married in 1996. I gave birth to our child 18 months later. A year after that, we bought a house together. Not long after we got moved in, he changed. He threatened to kill himself if I didn't agree to letting him invite strange men to have threesomes with us. I hated the idea, but I was young and scared that he really would harm himself, so I agr3ed, but only as a one-time thing. It was not one time, but I suspect that you already knew that. The second man raped me. He arrived at the house before my husband got home, and took advantage of my being alone in the house with my toddler napping in his bedroom, and he raped me. When my husband got home, I got him alone and told him what happened. He didn't care. They proceeded to take turns on me, with me crying and dissociating. I said I didn't ever want to go through that again. But the next week, another man showed up. Later, another. Me saying no didn't matter. Not to the men, not to my husband. It only stopped when my son and I boarded a flight that took me back to my hometown. We divorced 5 years later. What was it that took nearly 25 years? Last night, for the first time, I actually thought of my ex-husband as a rapist. He raped me. I said no over and over. He didn't respect my no. I spent more than 2 decades telling myself that he abused me. I was a victim of domestic abuse. Not once in all that time did I ever think of him as a rapist. Now, I do, and it has brought all sorts of feelings to the surface. I've been awake all night because of it. I'm in a really good place, aside from that. I'm getting married soon to someone loving and caring. Someone who would rather cut off an arm than to hurt me. I feel lucky to have found them. So why the bad memories all of a sudden? Stories number 30. Offended by nurse practitioners' assumptions about me. Hey y'all, I'm 22F and I went to the doctor last week because I have been having issues with vaginal dryness during sex, which isn't normal for me. My doctor wasn't going to be in this week or next week, so they scheduled me with the nurse practitioner. I usually prefer my doctor because she birthed my child and is very nice and gets to the bottom of things, but I needed to know what was going on with my body. This was my second time seeing the nurse practitioner. The first was about 3 years ago when I was pregnant. I was certain I had BV, but she heavily accused me of having an STD and said that my partner was probably cheating. Results came back and it was BV, no STDs. The second time I told her about my dryness and she asked what type of birth control I was on and I told her none. She gave me a weird look and said, "So what are you doing for birth control?" "Nothing." I told her I was using condoms. I was taken aback by her assumption and her reaction when I told her I wasn't using birth control. I expected her to check my hormones, anything. But she swabbed my vagina and told me that I had a lot of inflammation and white blood cells. Even though I told her that I did have sex recently and it hurt because I was dry, she ignored that and told me I most likely have an STD. My test came back and I have no STDs, again. I still don't know what's wrong with me, but I'll wait until my doctor comes back and actually tries to help me. I'm not sure if the nurse practitioner is just like that or if I'm being stereotyped, young black woman. I just needed to vent about that. Stories number 31. I, F54, told my husband, M54, that I don't have a salary and he got upset. My husband, M54, and I, F54, were having an argument about finances. At some point I told him that there's not much I can do as I don't have a salary, I'm a stay-at-home wife. He got really upset because I said that. His reasoning is that he works very hard to provide for our family and gives me money to cover expenses. I agreed with him on that, but I said that he can't call that as a salary because I don't have a steady income on a set day for a set amount. I'm at his expense, I have to ask to receive, which to me is like begging, but that's a sort for another day. He said that if I consider myself married to him, I do have a salary because his money is my money to cover a mortgage in which I'm listed on the title, am insurance beneficiary and all things household related. I ended the conversation with a, "You're right," because I didn't see the point of going over something that I don't see from his standpoint, and I firmly believe that, me receiving money, that is not an allowance, is like me receiving a salary. Can someone enlighten me? Stubborn, wanna be independent, woman views. Edit. I want to thank each and every one of you who saw where my questioning came from. I also appreciate that you all saw what I thought but didn't want to fully accept. I started to create a path that will lead memoir of this situation. Luckily, and I have people who I can count on and would love to see me out as a winner. They have all, in one situation or another, brought up the financial abuse state. I have received links about what financial abuse is and it lists each and every single item that I experience. Unfortunately, I gave you all one of the many things that are F up in this marriage. I've always known that I need to get out of it but thought that I was being exaggerating. Now I confirm that I'm not as you, a group of strangers, see it as well. Thank you. Stories number 32. Aita for telling my ex's new boyfriend she cheated on me with 2 guys while we were together. So I, 25M, dated K, 27F, for about 1.5 years. We lived together, had joint savings, the whole domestic starter pack. I really thought we were in it for the long haul. Then she went on a girls' trip to Tulum. Came back a week later looking like she saw the ghost of morality. Sat me down and said she needed to be honest. Turns out she cheated. Twice. Once with some guy from her yoga class she said was like a brother, and once with a guy she met on the beach and connected with under the moonlight. I moved out the next day. Blocked her. Went full monk mode. Anyway, fast forward a few months. I get a DM from this guy, we'll call him Zach. Zach is her new boyfriend. He's all, "Hey man, hope this isn't weird, but I know you used to date Kay, and I just wanted to ask if she was faithful to you. She says you were emotionally distant and kind of checked out." First off, LOL. Second, I sat with it. I didn't respond for a few hours. But then I figured, if he's asking, he probably already knows something's off. So I told him the truth. I said, she cheated on me twice, once with someone she told me not to worry about, and once with a random on vacation. You can believe what you want, but that's what happened. Good luck. No insults. No bitterness. Just the facts. He read it. No reply. Then she texts me, "I can't believe you're still trying to ruin my life. That was so inappropriate. I thought you were better than this." So now I'm wondering, did I cross a line? I wasn't trying to sabotage anything. He literally asked. I gave a calm, honest answer. But apparently, I'm the villain in her healing journey now. Stories number 33. Aita for backing out of giving a speech at my stepdad's funeral after reading a letter he left me. Throwaway account cause honestly I'm still confused about how I feel and I know Reddit can be brutal. I'm not even sure if I did the right thing or totally overreacted. I'm 24F. My stepdad passed away last month after a long illness. He came into my life when I was 6. My real dad wasn't around and my stepdad basically raised me. Taught me how to ride a bike, helped with homework, showed up to every school thing. We didn't always see eye to eye, but he was my dad, you know. When he got sick I helped out a lot. Visited every week, helped mom with care stuff when I could, even used some holiday time from work to be there more toward the end. Before he died, he asked me if I'd say something at his funeral. Nothing formal, just a speech. I said yes straight away. The night before the funeral, me and mom were going through some old boxes to set up a little memory table. In one of them, she found a sealed letter with my name on it. Said he wrote it a few weeks before he passed and asked her to give it to me. She'd forgotten about it till that night. I took it upstairs and read it alone. It started off sweet, stuff like thank you for being a part of my life, proud of you, that kind of thing. But toward the end, it shifted. He said that when he first married my mom, he didn't want me around. That he tried to convince her to let me live with my grandparents because he wasn't ready to raise someone else's kid, that he didn't know how to handle it, and honestly just resented how fast everything changed. He said eventually he came to love me and that our bond became one of the most important things in his life. That writing it down was his way of being honest and showing how far we'd come. I stared at it for like an hour. I tried to just brush it off, like okay yeah it was a long time ago and PPL change, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. All these years I believed he chose me. That he wanted to be my dad. And suddenly it felt like that wasn't true. Not at the start anyway. It made me feel fake. Like the speech I was supposed to give would be a lie. I didn't sleep that night. In the morning I told my mom I couldn't do it. Didn't say why, just said I wasn't in the right place emotionally. She said okay, but I could tell she was disappointed. My uncle ended up speaking instead. Now some family are saying I was cold. That I let him down on the day it mattered most. My mom hasn't pushed, but I think she knows something's up. I still don't really know how to feel. Part of me feels like I let him down. But another part of me feels like he let me down first. And it didn't feel right to stand up there and talk about how much he meant to me when all I could think about was how, at the start, he didn't even want me in his life. So yeah. Aita for backing out of the speech after reading that. Stories number 34. Aita for not sharing the good tea with a friend. My friend was over visiting, I offered tea. She said yes. She's not much of a tea drinker, she normally drinks cheap herbal teas, which are not actually tea anyway, and isn't picky. I, on the other hand, have a cabinet full of teas of various types, imported from around the world. I offered her a decent selection, a nice oolong, a nice white tea, a high-quality herbal, a good flavored black. She pointed at something else in the cabinet and went, what about that one? I hesitated, then said it's pretty expensive puer I had imported, and she probably wouldn't like it anyway. She said I'm being stingy and could let her taste for herself. But puer is a polarizing tea anyway, and this stuff is not cheap at all, and it would be difficult for me to get more of this brand. I know I can make multiple cups from it, but I hadn't been planning on doing a puer week right now, and really didn't want to waste it on someone who probably wouldn't like it anyway. She doesn't even like strong black tea. For those not in the know, my family has compared the smell of puer to fish and dirty socks. I like it a lot, but I understand it's not everybody's thing. Now she's being passive-aggressive at me. Aita. Stories number 35. You want to make me do your work for you? Well, now you can't take your break. I have a coworker who is incredibly lazy. She's never been a hard worker, but within the last year, it's gotten bad. She could technically retire, but chooses not to, for whatever reason. Which, I wouldn't mind if you actually did your job, but not only will she never help the office, she doesn't even get her own damn work done. As you can probably tell, this woman annoys the hell out of me, for a multitude of reasons. We have a system in our office where all customer questions go into the same queue. If it's an email, a voicemail, part of an online chat conversation with an employee in another department, it goes into this queue. For whatever reason, any time my coworker encounters a question that will take more than about 10 seconds to answer, she assigns it to me. Which yes, I am very knowledgeable about our department, however, this woman has worked here 3 times as long as I have, and should know these things herself. Today, she assigns me a question, and as soon as I read it, I have no idea why she assigned it to me, because she should have assigned it to my boss and or talked to my boss about it. As mentioned, I assign it to my boss, and then go and tell her about it. During the beginning of our conversation, I overhear said coworker on the phone, ordering food for lunch. Usually she hangs up the phone, waits about 5 minutes, and then heads over to pick up the food. Well, I'm still in my boss's office, talking about this question. I should probably mention, my manager loves to talk, and while I'm usually trying to slowly back out of her office to end a conversation, this time, I take a seat and proceed to actively engage. So, the minutes are ticking by, and my coworker can't take her break because someone always needs to be office, and obviously, I'm unavailable. At one point, I kind of tilt the chair so I can see her out of the corner of my eye, and I can tell she's just itching to run out of here, but she can't leave. What should have been, at most, a 5-minute conversation, turns into a 20-minute conversation. Then, I added a little more revenge because as soon as I left my manager's office, I ran out of our office to use the restroom, just to delay her break even further. I can't tell you how satisfied I feel right now. Stories number 36. My 26F, partners, 26M, best friend, 26F, insists that they share a bed while we are traveling. How do I navigate this? TLDR, partner's best friend wants him to share a bed with her on vacation, alone, and he is okay with it. She won't. My partner, 26M, and I, 26F, have been together for 3 years and we love to travel. We are planning a trip to Australia to see his friend Pam, 26F, and because I've always wanted to go, but he hasn't because he is really afraid of bugs. I have met Pam now 2 or 3 times and chatted with her on the phone a handful of times when my partner and her call, which is quite frequent. The two of them have been friends since high school when he originally asked her on a date. They never actually dated and I've never been too worried about their bond. I think friendship is really important, but there have been a handful of times I've been a little uncomfortable with their closeness. They have shared a bed while traveling previously, their Snapchat streak is 950, I also saw their bitmojis kissing one time in their chat. So Pam kindly offered that we can stay at her place. It's a really nice 1-bedroom garden suite, with a view of the ocean, a patio, a bunny, an air fryer, and, lucky for my partner, no big bugs. There's just one problem, there is only one bed, queen, and a small couch, can only fit one person. Grinning face with sweat. Pam said that since she needs her beauty rest, she need to sleep in the queen bed. She said that she would prefer to share the bed with my partner because she has known him longer, and that I sleep on the couch. Though she offered that my partner and I can swap for a couple nights if the couch is too uncomfy for me. I know that sheet goes both ways if you know what I mean, but I still feel a little weird about her insisting my partner sleep in her bed. Okay, also maybe I'm just paranoid, but Pam told my partner that we can't ahem do the deed on her bed. I did suggest that all 3 of us share the queen, and at first she raised her eyebrow, smirked, and said, sure, but only if, my partner, is in the middle. I then told her I'd prefer to be in the middle, but she said her room has bad circulation and if there were 3 of us sharing a blanket we would get too hot. I love my partner a lot but he has been extremely complicit throughout this conversation. He's just been like, yeah, I'm happy anywhere, Pam and I have shared a bed before so it's not a big deal. One time, I asked him if they had ever shared more than the bed, like their virginities, but he made a disgusted face and said, number 1, Pam is not my type, and number 2, you know I'm saving my virginity for you. What do you think, who should sleep where? Stories number 37. Can't park in front of your own house. Whoops, no more secondary income. TLDR, neighbor starts parking in front of our house, refuses to park elsewhere, ends up that she's running an illegal short-term rental that gets shut down by the zoning commissioner after being taken to court. I live in a small neighborhood with maybe 20 total homes. Each home has about 50+ feet of road frontage, 3+ car garages, and large driveways, and parking is permitted on both sides of the street. As such, there's never a reason to park in front of a home that isn't yours that you're not visiting unless there's some sort of event. Most of the neighbors are friendly and know each other, so in the time I've lived here, parking has never been an issue. Until last month. Last month, a neighbor from the far other end of the development started parking daily, and overnight, in the smack dab middle of our property's road frontage. Odd, but maybe she's having work done on her driveway and wants to park, away from the fumes? Ick, things happen, not a big deal, but after 5 nights of this I'm getting a little fed up. The yard guys can't cut the grass where her car is located, deliveries of large items are postponed because they can't get up our driveway without the extra turning radius. So I leave a note, I know, on her windshield. It's a quick note explaining that it'd normally be a non-issue, but we have some deliveries coming and it'd help us if she could move her car back to her home this week. Edit for clarity, the note did not ask her to move permanently, but asked if she could move temporarily, for 3 days, I think we asked, so we could mow without getting grass on her car and so that the delivery drivers could get in the driveway. We had a few large deliveries that required big trucks with large turn radiuses. No response, but the note is gone the next morning, the car is still there, and our other neighbor texts us, hey OP, you may want to watch out for mean neighbor. She started cussing me out for the note left on her windshield and said it was public property so she could park there as much as she wants. Not cool, but since I don't want to pick a fight, what is there to be done? The next time she moves her car, I pull my own in front of my house. This does not make her happy, and she spends the next few days flipping off my Ring doorbell from the street, and leaving notes on my car that are never threatening but never kind, like FCKU and Libchard. Game on. Edit. I did not get revenge for her parking in an obviously public place, as explained, but for her flipping me off, cursing me out, and leaving cruel notes on our car when we parked in front of our own home. It didn't take much digging to realize there were regularly unusual, out-of-state cars parked at her actual home, and even less digging to find her home listed on Airbnb, for way more per night than her entire mortgage. A few quick calls to the county, and wouldn't you know it? Airbnb and short-term rentals are completely forbidden, no exceptions, in our neighborhood. On top of that, the county zoning commissioner finds out she's been renting out her home for almost half a decade, and each rental violation equates to a $250 fine. You can do the math. I'm not sure what happened after, but we do know she received a court order of some sort, and more importantly, that she stopped parking in front of our house. Guess she had to find a job that didn't include flipping people off all day. Stories number 38. I lied to my parents so I could start shaving my legs. Being in elementary school is extremely frustrating. Nobody knows who they are yet, and I was definitely a part of that club. The kids in my class made me upset one day, and I didn't know how to explain to my parents why I was crying after coming off of the school bus. Not exactly sure why, probably in pursuit of being cool, but I told them that I was upset because I was the only girl who wasn't shaving my legs yet. Spoiler, nobody was shaving their legs yet. That same day, my mom helped me learn how to shave. The next day, all of the girls in my class were rubbing my hairless leg, and within a week or so, a couple of kids in my class also started shaving. It was stupid, funny in a way, and also a lesson on how much peer pressure can affect anyone. Stories number 39. 38M. My partner 36F abandoned me while hiking in Yosemite. My partner 36F and I 38M were hiking in Yosemite. We had hiked all day, really strenuous trail to a waterfall with a lot of elevation gain, and both of us were carrying a backpack weight in water. On our descent trip the last 4 miles I was exhausted but still going at a normal walking pace, taking occasional breaks. My partner said I was going too slow and basically left me to run down the mountain herself. It took me an hour to eventually catch up to her. This shocked me, and when I later confronted her she said it was my own fault for not being as conditioned as her. I kept insisting that it's not normal behavior to just abandon your partner. This isn't the first time she's done this, and I would never do something like this. Would you accept this kind of behavior? How do you approach a partner who never accepts they are wrong and everything is somebody else's fault? Stories number 40. AIO. For being upset my husband didn't visit me in the emergency room. My husband was on a bachelor's trip in San Diego, which is a 2-hour drive from where we live. The afternoon that he was leaving, I got into an accident. I broke 5 ribs and shattered my clavicle. Honestly, it wasn't a big deal. I was taken to the emergency room and was in tons of pain, but it didn't feel like life or death. I wasn't panicked or afraid. I called him and calmly let him know that I was in the emergency room, but I told him it's fine if he continues to drive down to San Diego for the bachelor party. Well, turns out the bachelor group made a last-minute decision to go to Mexico instead of staying in San Diego. And unknown to me until after the fact, they all went to a strip club called Hong Kong. By 8 p.m., my husband has completely stopped answering his phone. I was discharged from the hospital. My roommate drove me home. I didn't hear from my husband until the next afternoon. He said he had some drinks, accidentally blacked out and fell asleep at the strip club, then went back to the hotel and passed out. AIO. For being mad at him for being blacked out drunk at a strip club while I'm in the hospital. I feel like he should have been worried about me and checked in on me, not busy partying with strippers, or at the very least been reachable in case I needed him. Anyway, this has been eating away at me for a really long time. Edit. Honestly, I didn't want to be the one to ruin the trip, so I just let him decide. I said I was fine and he didn't need to turn around, but if he wants to cancel on the trip then he can turn around. But he chose to continue, which is totally fine. But the part that eats away at me is, how can he still party so hard that he blacked out and completely stopped answering his phone for 16 hours? Am I crazy for thinking somebody who's worried about their loved one being in the hospital would be on their phone, checking in, very frequently? Edit 2. Okay, so when first posting on here, I was upset that he didn't answer his phone, didn't call to check in on me, and I couldn't reach him for 16 hours. But, now that all of you very nice, kind and supportive people have informed me Hong Kong is a brothel whorehouse, I'm extra upset. This adds a whole new layer of what the fuck to this mess. Stories number 41. My 29F fiancé, 33M, insists on doing trust-building exercises where he blindfolds me in public. I'm starting to feel humiliated. So I've been with my fiancé for 3 years, we've been engaged for 6 months. He's always been into building trust and doing weird exercises from books he reads or podcasts he listens to. It started small, like falling backward into each other's arms, or taking turns giving up control of the TV for a week. But now, It's getting a little bizarre. His newest thing is public vulnerability drills. Basically he blindfolds me and walks me through public places, like Target, the dog park, the farmer's market, while narrating what's going on. I'm supposed to trust his eyes and lose mine. Sometimes he will guide me to smell random fruit or experience vibrations by touching speakers in electronics stores. Last weekend he walked me into a fountain at the mall to test how I react to unexpected stimuli. I got soaked. He said I passed with AB+. I'm not making this up. He really grades me. I tried to tell him I don't enjoy it and that it makes me feel ridiculous, but he got upset and said I clearly have deep-rooted control issues and this is how we work through them. He also says I shouldn't undermine the sacred space of trust. What do I even say to that? Is this some therapy thing I'm not educated enough to understand? Stories number 42. Aita for not paying for my son's wedding. My wife and I have 2 sons. My youngest was the first to get married. We spent about $10K on his wedding. Then when my oldest got married, because years had passed and $10K was not enough for a wedding anymore, we gave him $30K. I believe we treated them equally because 5 years had passed between the weddings, so realistically it would be unfair if we gave my oldest $10K as well. Now my youngest is getting remarried and he thinks we should pay for his second wedding as well. I told him that this is not happening. We are only willing to pay for 1 wedding. The second wedding is his own responsibility. He thinks I'm an asshole. I think he is an adult and if he can't pay for his own wedding he shouldn't get married. Stories number 43. Whipta if I reported my son's daycare teacher. I picked my son up from daycare at 5:05 today. When I walked into the class I immediately heard him screaming and crying. I turn and see him completely under his blanket. I rip the blanket off of him and there's snot and tears streaming down his face. I pick him up and it takes almost 2 minutes to completely calm him down. The teacher immediately goes, I just checked on him, I swear he's okay, he's dry, referring to his diaper. She claimed he was asleep but one of the other kids woke him up. He does normally get sleepy around 530 but I feel like he should never been completely covered head to toe in a blanket without any hole to breathe. I couldn't even see the top of his head. Especially as he's having a meltdown and screaming. The snot could have been because he's been a little under the weather but his cheeks and edge of shirt were soaked in tear. The teacher wasn't holding him down or forcing anything on him. She was just sitting next to him and another baby who was also covered head to toe in a blanket with no breathing hole. His class is 13 months, 2-year-olds, he just turned 14 months old. Am I overreacting or is this a normal thing? There are cameras in the classroom that the directors have access to and when you first walk in they have monitors of all the classrooms if I wanted them to review the tape, but I don't want to be doing too much. Edit because some people keep saying this, my baby hates having a blanket over his head. Even at home he will immediately take it off. However, he still doesn't know how to take off the blanket if he's having a meltdown or crying, like he was today. I'm trying to teach him but he just turned 14 months so he's still learning. Stories number 44. If you can't find a good guy to date, look into volunteering in local leftist organizing groups, community fridges, inner-city gardens, know your rights seminars, tenant unions, reproductive rights education programs, harm reduction initiatives, etc. Not talking about broad-spectrum liberal groups like 50501, to be clear. I'm talking far-left community engagement where ample self-policing is a default. If you don't find an attractive, young dude who is fully vested in ideology that affirms the productive existence of women there, you've at least found a lovely and welcoming space to do good work for your community in. I keep seeing posts of guys asking where to meet good women and seeing responses about intramural sports and whatnot, which I do participate in and have met some great friends, but then I sort of realized that so many of those spaces are obviously being scouted by dudes who post on Reddit asking where to meet women. Not necessarily a red flag, but also not the greenest. In my experience, far-left spaces tend to be primarily woman-dominated and therefore have an extreme intolerance towards shitty, predatory behavior. In essence, the other activists are actively weeding out the scumbags. I met my boyfriend at a community garden, he just happened to be the one who was my type, but every other guy I got to know there was someone I would recommend to my friends without a second thought. Obviously, every space can have its bad apples. There's no denying that. I just wanted to post this in case anyone has been stuck in the dating grind and needed a random sign to remind them that there are spaces with good people and good opportunities for personal growth. Stories number 45. Taken acid as a teen, dad had to go to the hospital and I saw the worst thing I had ever seen. I never admitted this to my parents but when I was 15 I had taken acid and that is the night my dad had a heart emergency and ended up in the ER. I was so high and trying to remain normal. The ER doctor came to talk to my family and I was smiling wildly at him thinking, look like a friendly, whatever that mean. My sister noticed, 8 years older, and took me out to the room. I knew she could tell I was high and she was just about to lose her shit on me when a stretcher went by. A young girl was cleaning a grease trap above the frying pits at a fast food station. She slipped, fell, and her legs got deep fried. She wasn't screaming, she was either passed or they sedated her. I didn't notice. My sister went quiet. I was looking at the girl thinking, well, this is the worst trip I've ever had. I'm hallucinating this girl's skin melting off. I 100% thought it was a hallucination. It was not. Then a piece of skin sloughed off and fell to the floor, and I heard the splat at the nurse jumped because it landed in her foot. All in all, one of worst thing I've ever seen, and to this day felt bad about going to the hospital so high. I just stared bug-eyed at this poor girl. No emotion because I thought it wasn't real. I'm sure the doctor looking at me from beside thought I was some psycho for just starting and not reacting. In my head I was thinking, don't react, they'll think you're crazy. I do wish I had just somehow stayed home. Stories number 46. Whipped for telling my boyfriend's parents I'm not his babysitter. I 23F have been dating my boyfriend Josh 29M for 2 years. We live together as well. Recently, his parents have started asking me to get him to do things. Make sure Josh to go to the dentist for his cracked tooth, or make sure Josh updates his passport, or make sure Josh changes his pet food for his cat. We don't like the brand. Or make sure Josh does his taxes. You may need to sit with him and help. The most recent has been convincing Josh to get a new job in an entirely unrelated field because Josh's parents don't feel like he makes enough money. Josh makes $70K, I make $110K, so we are doing fine. Typically I respond with some variation of, I'm fully capable, Josh can figure it out himself, and if not, it will be a good learning experience for him, but that hasn't stopped Josh's parents. Now I'm planning on being a little harsher and telling them I'm not Josh's babysitter and to leave me out of these concerns. Whipped for saying that. Is there anything else I should do differently? TLDR, boyfriend's parents want me to make sure he does normal adult tasks. I feel it is not my job. Stories number 47. My kid, 3, threw a block at another kid's head, the kid required stitches for the cut and now the parents want to sue us. Other civil matters. Location, KY. Over the last 2 weeks our daycare has sent one of my boys home early due to behavior. One of the times he hit other children and adults, another time he flipped over some shelves. He is 3 years old. Today daycare called and told us he injured another child. When we got to the daycare to pick them up, they told us that my son who caused the incident is no longer allowed at the daycare anymore. The person working there also said that the other parents were going to file a police report and said they were going to file a civil suit against us. I feel so defeated right now with everything. We have been working on saving money and are in the steps of moving to another state right now. Do the other parents actually have any recourse here? Does the daycare hold some liability? There have been times recently where we have dropped off the kids and there were 25 plus kids in a classroom with only one teacher. It was chaos. Is there a maximum liability that we could incur? For additional context, their mother and I are not married, but we all reside at the same address. Only the mother's signature is on the original contract, but my name is printed. I am very worried that all the assets I have ever worked towards in my life are about to be ripped right out from under me. Stories number 48. Aita for telling a guy at my gym he's a creep and needs to change somewhere else. At the gym I go to, the men's and women's locker room entrances are side by side. The women's door stays shut, but typically the men's stays open, simply because the actual changing area is tucked away. There are lockers by the door, but no one uses them because they are far from where people change, and people can easily see you if you use those front lockers and the door is open. There is one guy I see most days that changes, gets fully naked, and uses the lockers by the door. He's the only person I've ever seen use those lockers and obviously the only person I've seen change there. I've never cared too much, just thought he was weird. Until yesterday, my girlfriend told me as she was entering the women's locker room she made eye contact with that guy since the door was open and he was practically standing in the doorway, technically in the locker room, yes, he was fully naked, and smiled and waved at her. I immediately went to the locker room and got pretty pissed at him and told him to stop using those fucking lockers, you creep. We exchanged some words but boiled down to him saying he can change wherever and me saying yes, but why in front of the door? He then reported me. I was told he has been brought to their attention before, but since he is at a locker and in the locker room they can't really tell him to stop. And that I should just let it be and there is no reason to be angry. One detail, this is in a European country that is fine with nudity. So am I. But not when he's basically just flashing women going into their space. So my question is, Aita for calling this guy out. Stories number 49. I named my brother after a TV show character so that we would match. So my name is Dean and my brother's name is Sam. We were born 13 years apart. My parents claim that it's because they didn't want me to be alone when they were gone, but my running theory is that Sammy was a stray bullet, in the best way though, love you bro. Anyways, my name is not because of the show Supernatural. I know that as I was born before the show aired. Either way it wouldn't be the case as my parents aren't that big into shows or TV. I asked my dad once why the name Dean and he said it sounded cool and like an authority figure and I didn't dig deeper. I started watching Supernatural when I was 10 because one of the brothers had my name which I thought was awesome. Around 2 years later my parents announced that I would have a sibling which I was super excited about and then later when it was revealed that I would have a brother I just knew what I had to do. So Sam was born. My parents weren't aware of the show then but they definitely are now. They even asked me years later if the show was the reason I suggested the name Sam in the first place but I just denied it as I thought it was a bit silly naming my brother after a character so we would match a fictional brother duo but yeah I totally did that. I don't think my parents believe me anyway but they didn't ask more questions. I can't wait to watch Supernatural with him though I'm sure he will love it.